Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Kaiser Gaming. We've got a pretty special video for you today. This is one I think you guys have been waiting a while for. We have a Rome at War tier list, and we're going to be taking a look at the civilizations and going over, kind of my thoughts about how strong the civilizations are overall and how I would rank them from best to worst in the Civ. And I have a buddy with me today. Today I've got BPDrej joining me, who is a longtime player of the game and a player and a content creator for Rome at War. BP, how you doing today?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Thanks. It's great to have you. And BP, like I said, he's a content creator. I've got several of his socials. If you love Rome at War, check out his stuff. He's got a lot of really cool things on Rome at War. But today, we're going to dive in. We're going to look at each civilization in alphabetical order and sort of share our thoughts on the overall strengths. Obviously, we've got 5 ranks here, S, A, B, C, D, with, I think, S being maybe the very tip top, the strongest, maybe even too strong, maybe even broken. A being a really strong civ, and then B being average, nothing too great. C maybe being a little bit on the weaker side. And then finally, D being, maybe not as strong as it should be and needing a buff. Or something like that. That's the general trend that we've got here. Let's go ahead and dive in. First, we have the Armenians, and I'll go ahead and list off what we've got on the romeatwar.org tech tree. You can follow the website, romeatwar.org, in order to see these civilizations for yourself. The Armenians are a cavalry and cav archer civilization. We got stone miners slowly generating gold in addition to stone, that Polish bonus from the base game. Herdables contain 50% bonus food. Cav archers getting +1 range, and then illumination and block printing are free. They have the Irudzi, which is their unique unit, which receives 50% less bonus damage. And it can use a ranged attack. So, now BP, I don't know that I've played a lot with the Armenians. Does that work sort of like the Legionary, where it can swap between the melee and the ranged?
Correct. So it'll have the button similar to the Legionary or the Ratha in the base game.
Right.
Switches between a bow or its spear.
Very cool. Very cool. And so here, I not to surprise you with stats, but looking at the 8 attack, 2 armor, would you have an idea if that's the melee or the ranged attack on the Irudzi?
This is the melee because it has 0 range on it. However, the armor itself, armor and pierce armor, has been nerfed slightly recently. Okay. Just the this tech tree hasn't been updated yet.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Okay. So we have kind of this hybrid knight cav archer unit that receives 50% less bonus damage. That's pretty wild. The unique techs, and remember, for Rome at War, we have 4 unique techs. You can choose from among 2 in the Castle Age and then 2 in the Imperial Age, 1 for each. So your 2 options in the Castle Age, Civitate Sferratae, Legionaries enabled at the barracks, and Legionaries require 50% less population space. Or the Mars Panate, Spearmen and Scout Cav require 25% less pop space. Then in the Imperial Age, you've got Kvarena. Arudzi and Cavalry Archers cost 15% less gold per garrison relic to a max of 3. I assume that's additive. So if you have 3 relics, that's 45% less gold for your units there, your Cav Archers. And
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. And then Baptism. Temples slowly heal nearby cavalry. This is a really, really strong civilization, I think. The herdables containing 50% more food, this is one that gives a really nice early game bonus. And unlike the Britons in AoE2, where you give this bonus to a civ that's going to be an archer civ, so it's a little bit harder for it to play into their strengths. With the Armenians, you want to go into cav. So getting a bunch of extra food, I'm sorry, 50% more food. That's not the Britons. That's the Tatars. But anyway, so you got 50% more food, so you're able to go into either like a fast castle or a fast Middle Antiquity age, or you could do some kind of scout rush or a militia rush. This bonus is really strong. I like it. Stone Miners is kind of nice, especially if you want to go into Irudzi. The Cav Archers getting +1 range, that's really big, because in my kind of mental headspace, which, by the way, and BP, you can add in on this. For me, in the regular AoE2, I clock in at around 1200 elo. So I'm by no means a pro player, but I know my way around the block a little bit. And when it comes to Cav Archers, it seems like their main weakness is range. You've got the speed, but you're outranged by skirmishers, you're outranged by bowmen, and with giving Cav Archers +1 range, that means that you fire just as far as archers do. You have the same range. That gives them, I think, a lot more flexibility. It is a full tech tree for Cav Archer. You have Parthian tactics. You have a complete blacksmith for your archer units. So they have got to be absolute monsters when it comes to Cav Archers. The Irudzi is pretty cool. I don't know a lot about this unique unit, but I'm guessing it probably takes bonus damage from, obviously, like anti-cav. Does it also take bonus damage from skirmishers, I wonder?
Yeah, so only when you switch to the range for him. I'm not sure exactly how he coded that, but we had a little short discussion on it and just justified it as he puts a shield on his back
right
when he switches to his bow, so now he's taking bonus damage from skirmishers.
Got it, right. So you take a lot more bonus damage as the Irudzi, but then you're taking 50% less of it.
Correct.
So that's really nice. And I can imagine, you have more experience than I do, you can speak to this, but I would imagine this is a really strong, unique unit.
Yeah, so I've played with the Arudzi more than actually their base Cav Archers, just because I'm not used to going straight Cav Archer.
Right.
And the games that I've played, maybe about 5 or 6 with them now, I always make sure to send a good group of villagers to stone instead of gold at the start. You don't need too much gold at the start of the game, or like early on in the game. If I'm opening scouts or archers, I'm getting enough from the stone trickle. So I want to usually get into Arudzi. So when I've played with it, before its pierced armor was nerfed, it was super tanky against archers and town centers. I could run underneath them. I could raid easily. If I want to run out of somebody's base but then still harass them, I switch to range mode, get behind their wood line.
Right.
So the unit is very good, I will say.
Yeah, basically kind of almost like a mounted legionary. And it sounds probably maybe even stronger. That's a really good unique unit, which of course you have a incentive to go into that unit because your stone miners generate gold in addition to stone. So you kind of have that Polish sort of bonus backing you up. If you go heavy into stone, you start throwing down castles, which allow you to mass up that unique unit, and you're getting gold at the same time. That just frees up your economy really nicely. And then just talk about the unique techs. You could unlock the Legionary. Now, I don't know how strong the Legionary is compared to if you already are going Cav Archer or you've got the Irudzi. You have looks like a decent militia line. So it's really cool that you have the Legionaries, and they cost 50% less pop space. So that's really nice. But what I would imagine is, if we're looking at the AoE2 meta, Scout Cav Archer combinations are seen very often, even at the professional level. Being able to pick up Mars Panate, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and allowing your Scout Cav to have 25% less population space, that's a really nice synergy with going heavy into Cav Archers. I think these guys have a really, really strong strategy. Not to mention, Imperial Age, resources start running low, you pick up Kvarena, Cav Archers, or Irudzi. They cost, again, you should hopefully have 3 relics by now, 45% less gold. Or Baptism if you want to heal, but I think this is the stronger Imperial tech.
Correct.
You've got a really, really nice strategy here. My impulse, I don't, I'd say they have to be at least A. I think they've got a really, really nice strategy out of the gate. Maybe their one weakness is that they don't really have, other than the herdables having more food, other than that, they don't really have an early eco bonus that helps out a lot. But once they get rolling, it just seems like they will be able to steamroll over you. Not to mention, of course, if it goes into a late game trash war, if you've picked up Mars Panate, not only do your scout cab, but also your spearmen have 25% less pop space as well. So you're just able to field a larger trash army than your opponent does, assuming you're going heavy into spears. I think they've got to be at least A. I don't want to put them in S yet, but they're really strong. What do you think?
Oh yeah, A is definitely justifiable. That's what I went for with my hot take list a couple months ago. I'd still say they're there.
Cool. All right. Good. Let's move on. Next civilization is the Athenians. And BP, what I'll do, I'll read through what they've got, and then maybe you can just give me the commentary. Okay. So
All right.
we got the unique features. Text costing 10% less in early antiquity, 15% less in middle antiquity, and 20% less in the Imperial Age. Mills and mining camps and lumber camps all cost 50% less wood. Polyremes fire 25% faster. Quadrireme and quinquereme don't require advanced weaponry to unlock, and they cost 10% less. I assume that is the unit costing 10%. I don't think that's another tech they need, so that it should be the unit cost 10% less. And then short swords, broadswords, and long swordsmen available one age early. Their unique unit is the Hoplite, which is a super spearman. A unique armored infantry, extremely effective against cavalry. Also, not half bad against infantry. I think, if I remember right, no, they don't get any range, so it's just their stats are really good against cav and not half bad against infantry either. Their unique text, they have Solonian reforms. You got to pick a politician. This is like AoE2 creeping into Rome at War here. Pick a politician. You either pick Solon. Solonian reforms, farmers slowly generate gold in addition to food. Or Draconian reforms, spearmen and hoplites get +3 attack. And then in the Imperial Age, you have Athena Parthenos. Archery range units fire 25% faster and have +1 pierce armor. Or the Delian League, cavalrymen cost 75% less gold. And then their team bonus, universities work 80% faster. BP, give us some analysis. What do you think about the Civ?
Yeah, so right out of the gate, when I first started playing, I wanted to try these out, and I would still consider them either top of A or S tier on water maps. They're one of the best as well. So I think overall, thinking of all maps, all situations, I would probably put them at S tier. That's what you see with the Chinese. That's what they have is the Chinese tech discount bonus. Then they also have building discount, same as Japanese.
Right.
They have so many nice bonuses for that. You can even surprise people with getting broadswordsmen in the feudal age if you really wanted to do that,
Right.
or in the dark age getting man at arms. Basically, I was surprised by that. I played against a guy. He did that to me once. It was hard to deal with. But
yeah, I think that infantry are underutilized in Age of Empires. I think at the the very top level, I understand why they don't go infantry, but I think they're underutilized, and especially at, again, my elo around like 1200 elo and below. Infantry are really strong, and I think that this bonus, unlocking the age ups one age early for the swordsman line, has a lot of potential. I agree with you. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut off your analysis. Go ahead.
no, you're good.
All right.
I was agreeing with you. Yeah, it's it can be very surprising, especially when you don't think somebody's going to go infantry.
Right. And not to mention, you do have really solid archers as well, so you can kind of get a nice composition going. I agree with you. I think you sort of, when you're looking at the Athenians, in my view, you need to break them down between whether we're looking at a water map or whether we're looking at a land map. On water, these guys may be top dog. Because you have, I mean, right out of the gate, we just started a match, right? All of your, your mills, your lumber camps, your mining camps costing 50% less wood. That helps your early navy. Helps you get out some early fishing ships. It helps you throw down an extra dock. That's a really nice bonus. Then you hit the early antiquity age. You start getting out your monoremes, and having them fire 25% faster means that if and of course Rome at War has the completely overhauled naval game, which makes it just so much more exciting. It's one of the best features of the mod. But even so, if we get into kind of a galley versus galley fight, monoreme versus monoreme, the Greek ships firing 25% faster gives them a really nice edge. Helps them out a lot. Then you've got faster unlocking quadrireme and quinquereme techs, which are super ships, right? You don't need to unlock advanced weaponry to get them out, and they cost less. So that's a really nice combo. And that's even without getting into the unique techs. Just looking at those alone, and any techs you do want to pick up are going to be cheaper over the ages. So I just think that it's a really nice snowball on water maps for the Athenians. That means they have to be in the contender for the very top. On land, a lot of these bonuses aren't as impactful. Obviously, the quadrireme bonuses don't mean anything. The polyreme bonus means nothing. But even ignoring them, I think the Athenians bring a lot of strategic flexibility. You're saving resources left and right between the camps costing less, the techs costing less, the swordsmen being available in age earlier. And then these unique techs are really nice. Solonian Reforms is really great if you want to commit to a gold-heavy strategy, and you want to keep the gold flowing longer. Solonian is really nice. Or if you want to maybe commit to a trash war and you just want your trash to be better than your opponent's trash, well, Draconian Reforms is really nice, giving your spearmen +3 extra attack. Now, I do notice the Greeks don't have auxiliary spearmen, so let me see. The auxiliary spearmen have +6 attack compared to spearmen's +4. So if you were to pick up, if you're fighting a civ that has auxiliary spearmen, you don't, but then you pick up Draconian Reforms, that gives you 1 more attack, but I suppose you still have less HP. I guess it makes them competitive. Maybe it's more about the hoplite than the spearmen. Yep. So I'd probably say
is their replacement for the auxiliary spearman because it has so much bonus damage against mounted units.
Yeah, that makes it. And I don't think we even talked about the unique unit. You're right. Yeah, we did. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, the hoplite is kind of that super spearman. The Draconian Reformers just makes them even better at their job. So if you're going up against a cav civ, this is maybe even overkill, but this is a really good option. Honestly, I think I like the safety net of Solonian Reforms more. Especially if you're playing on a resource low map. Again, maybe a water map where resources are tight. Being able to switch over to where your farmers... Okay, I don't know how many farmers you maybe have on a water map. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. You got some interesting options in the Castle Age. I'll just put it that way. And then in the Imperial Age, you can upgrade your archer ranges quite a bit. Your archers firing 25% faster, just like your polyremes. And they've got +1 pierce armor, which means in an archer versus archer fight, Athens wins. Or you can switch into cav with the Delian League and cavalrymen costing 75% less gold. Means that they are way more eco-friendly. If this were water, I'd say it's an easy S. But since we're talking about all maps...
I would still say S. The Delian League is more of a meme, I'd say, because their cavalrymen are so trash.
Mm-hmm. That's true, yeah.
It could be a game-ending thing. You just absolutely flood somebody with cav men, which are the knights, essentially.
Right.
But I've always gone for the Athena Parthenos.
Yeah.
And those composite bowmen just become so tough to deal with.
Right.
If you got a little, maybe a few hoplites, some siege to back them up.
Yeah. And then, of course, I didn't even mention the team bonus. University is working 80% faster. So they just seem to be a really nice, solid, well-rounded civilization. which I think would maybe inch me toward A, but then just there's dominance on water, plus some things you mentioned. I'll go ahead and put them on S for now. I think this is a really strong Civ. If anything, the thing is just that because they're jack of all trades, you don't have sort of the specificity, the specialization into one strat that I think some of the other Civs might bring to the table, which maybe give them an edge on the Athenians. But otherwise, yeah. Next up, we've got the Britons. They're an infantry and cav Civ. Blacksmith upgrades cost no gold. Barracks units have 20% more HP starting in the early antiquity age. Stable techs cost 50% less. Shepherds work 25% faster. And this is what I got this bonus mixed up with the Athenians earlier. So you got faster working shepherds, barracks units with more HP, stable techs costing less. We have the Woad Raider, which is the unique unit, and I'm not sure if the Woad Raider has changed very much compared to AoE2 with the Celts. I imagine it's got to be pretty similar.
Yeah, I don't think it has many different things.
Okay, so a very fast-moving infantry unit. We have four unique techs. Ovates or Ovates. Priests heal 100% faster. Healing range is 100% larger. And priests themselves regenerate HP. You have super druid priests. Or warrior druids. Priests convert faster and gain +2 melee, +2 pierce armor. Then in the Imperial Age, you have Carnix, infantry +5 attack. Or Aesidai, cavalry +3 attack. Finally, their team bonus military buildings provide +5 housing. This is an infantry and cavalry Civ, and they are living up to it. So, let's see. The Shepherd's working 25% faster. Like I was trying to say earlier, I think this bonus is even stronger on a civilization that focuses on cavalry or infantry play, because you are relying on that food. Having that in your bank faster just helps you. Like, let's say you want to do a scout rush. Well, collecting the food from the sheep faster just means that your food eco is that much more consistent and available for you. Not to mention stable techs costing 50% less, so you move from a scout rush into night play or whatever. Even, let me see, you do get cav archers as the Britons. So, husbandry is researched. What is that? Costs 50% less. So it's 75 food instead of 150. Bloodlines you have, which is 75 food and 50 gold instead of 150 food, 100 gold. So those are really nice pickups to have a lot cheaper. The barracks units being healthier right out of the gate means if you go into, well, I say right out of the gate, early antiquity age. So if it's a men-at-arms rush, a short swordsman rush, they're just tankier. So they'll do their job more effectively. And then your archer line. Now, I know the Britons, they're not the Britons of AoE2. This is an infantry and cav Civ, not an archer Civ. So guys, you guys watching, you play Rome at War, don't make that mistake. But even though you don't have those Briton bonuses you might be used to, the archer line is not bad. In the Imperial Age, you're missing the final armor upgrade, but otherwise, you've got a really solid archer play. You are missing, I will say, you are missing marksmanship, which is thumb ring. You are missing Parthian tactics, but you can use that as kind of a side, a kind of support unit for your infantry, for your cav. The unique techs, I like the idea of playing with knights and then using priests as backup. If you're playing against a knight Civ, warrior druids is amazing. Faster conversion and more armor means it's going to be that much harder to knock out a druid before you can get the conversion off. On a knight or on, if you're trying to convert siege, if you're being pushed by siege, your priests are amazing. Or you can go with the faster healing priest. You focused on that aspect of them. They can heal from 100% further away. They can heal themselves and they heal 100% faster. That's amazing. So probably if you're going knight play, maybe pick up Ovates. If you're going infantry play and you're expecting that you're getting a lot of siege, maybe pushback, pick up warrior druids. And then, of course, you just pick in the Imperial Age, well, which one are you going, infantry or cav? And you just buff that unit. +5 attack, +3 attack. I'm surprised you get Blast Furnace and this. Britons are strong, man. Military buildings provide +5 housing, so that's one more Just nice bonus for your early game if you try some kind of rush. Well, that's one less house you have to put down. It just makes your
Don't
rush that much
forget,
smoother.
no gold in the blacksmith too.
Yeah, which for a rush, unless it's an archer rush, won't do a lot for you. But yeah,
Hmm.
once you get into the next age, you're trying to make that switch over to knights or infantry play, whatever, and you're not having to worry about any gold at all. Dude, this is a strong civ. You got options, and they are strong options. What do you think?
I think they're above Armenians. I think the ability to switch to a different unit group entirely and have good options for it,
Mm-hmm.
as well as deal with um, whatever you can see coming from the enemy and like make that switch as well if you see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's just something the Armenians can't do as well
Yeah.
as the Britons. I feel like they're more you're more going to see stables and or cav archers from Armenians, and they do it well. But Britons have flexibility and strength
Yeah.
in their arsenal.
Yeah. I think I agree. They're strong out of the gate. They're flexible. Like, I think they're strong in the early game, and they seem to keep their strength going up until like. You know what? I'm gonna put them S tier for now. And I'll come back to it. Maybe we see something that's just next level, but these are some strong civs. I like what the Britons have. We'll see. Carthaginians are next. Okay, you know what? Actually, no, I take it back. Britons go back into A tier. Athenians might have to go into A tier just to make room for the Carthaginians, because these guys, this is the first thing that I look at, which I say, no way. This is very, very, very strong. Let's break it down. They're cavalry and a naval civ. Military units all cost 15% less food. Cav armor upgrades are free. Naval techs cost 50% less, and the trireme is available in the Middle Antiquity Age. They have the War Elephant as their unique unit. There we go. Which, by the way, has been buffed fairly significantly from the War Elephant you might be used to out of the Persians and AoE2. They move faster, they hit harder, they are much stronger against buildings. So just all around, a really nice unique unit for the Carthaginians. Your unique techs, War Mahouts. War Elephants attack 25% faster and get a 25% bonus trample area. I think they've already got trample damage, so I think that just makes them better at that. Or Mercenary Corps, which allows the Imazigan, the Balearic Slingers, and the Catratii to be enabled at the town center. Then, in the Imperial Age, you have Council of 104 Spearmen, Cavalrymen, Spears and Cavalrymen get +4 melee armor. Or Mega Shipyard Engineering. The Kothons can now be constructed. All right. BP, do you want to tell me what you think about this Civ before I jump in? Because
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, because I've got my thoughts, but I want to hear maybe your view. And if you
Sounds
will,
like you got some pretty strong opinions.
I got some strong opinions on this one. If you will, when you talk to me, share with me the Imazigan, the Balearic Slinger, and the Catratii, because I'm not as in the loop on the unique units. How useful are those unique units?
Yeah, I'll get into that. So I'll go down the list just a little quickly.
Yeah.
General gameplay, you thinking cheaper food, probably Scout Rush, or cheaper food costs on units. Scout Rush is good, and getting the free cav armor, that's probably what you would see on land for the most part. But that could also apply to skirmishers and spearmen, which is not too bad. Granted, because they're so cheap already, it's not giving you much. And then, so on land, you'll probably see stable openings. That's their strong option. It's not a bad option. It may be predictable, but they do it really well. Then getting into the Navy slightly, they have a very open Navy tech tree. The upgrades being 50% less, I've played them a couple times now. That is very nice to have. I don't know in the base game if another Civ has that for Italians, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if is it 50%? It's something like that. Yeah, it's very similar bonus.
Yeah, it's very helpful on water maps, of course, and trireme being available earlier is a very interesting upgrade. So I went for that once, It did not save me, but it was a closer ranged water map, so I was just getting flooded with fire ships, and I was already going for trireme, so I couldn't really switch to Trihemiolia to fight the fire ships or get demos out. But it is a very nice upgrade, mainly for like an islands map. Moving on down, war elephants, still basically a meme unit. They're a little cheaper on food, obviously. You're not going to see them too often, I think. And then if you're going for that upgrade, you're probably already winning. I don't know. I'll skip over Mercenary Corps real quick. Council 104, very nice for your stables, obviously. Cavalrymen, you get Imperial Cav. You're missing Bloodlines. You're already getting the free armor. You're also missing Blast Furnace, so you're going to be a little more defensive with those. You'll have a lot of melee armor for your Knight line, basically. And then Spearmen, it's just an added bonus. They don't get Auxiliary Spearmen or Forced March, so it helps them out a little bit. Otherwise, you can kind of see they don't have many anti-cav options if somebody is going cav harder than they are. So it just depends how you play out. And then Kothons are one of their big selling points. That's a unique building that the devs made. It's huge. It's like putting a wonder on water, basically. It's actually hard to place if you don't have a straight coastline. I won't get into all the text for it. It takes a little pop space. It's an expensive building. It's a fort on water, basically, more expensive than a fort. But it gives you all ship upgrades for free. You get all the elite upgrades without having to pay for them. It makes ships in batches of 4. You get more upgrades for it that lets it work faster, heals ships that are near it, but it won't attack anything. It just has a ton of health on it. It's a very nice building, but you have to get to Imperial Age. You have to have a fort up. You have to pay for that upgrade. Then you have to pay for the Kothon. Then you have to get the upgrades for it. Yeah. So we're still debating if it might be too OP, like in Tech's words, Tech Chariot. He's like, is this the Hufnitze of water maps, basically? Like, once you get it, other people, like, if you can make it, yes, it's expensive, it takes a while. But if you make it, then you win. And that's what we have to keep testing on in our games, if that's the truth right now.
Yeah.
But I'll get back answering your question on Mercenary Corps. So I would say I would go for this a lot more often than Mahouts on a regular land map, just standard gameplay. I have a fort up. The Amazigan is a very fast cavalry that has a lot of bonus damage against villagers. It's a glass cannon, and it's only good against villagers, basically. Okay. But it can absolutely wreck an eco if somebody's not paying attention. And then getting free cav armor for it is very nice as well. I don't know if their minus food cost counts for this tech. I have not tested that. I don't think Conqueror even knows. He hasn't tested that either. Moving on, though, Balearic Slinger, that is a archer type unit that can generate gold by destroying buildings. It has a bonus against buildings. So that could be like a quick little shock troop to bust a hole into a house wall or something like that. Trati, it's a better champion with a charge attack. Nothing too crazy about it.
Okay. But you would imagine, so let's assume we're playing a 1v1, right? And so I'm Carthaginians, I'm probably going Knights, so my opponent will probably go Spearmen. The Catratii would be a really nice pickup. Of the 3, that might be the most useful for countering the counter. Would you agree with that, or maybe the Balearic Slinger, or do you even look at these units as a useful unit to tech into for a typical like cav knight play?
Yeah, I mean, I would. If they were going infantry, I would probably say Balearic. They actually have a bonus against infantry as well.
Okay.
This is the first of the TC unit. We'll say just mercenary corps.
Right.
That you'll see from a couple other civs. It has the trade-off of you can't make villagers if you're making units from the TC, but it gives a lot of flexibility to these civs that they may otherwise be missing, and I think that's a very good tech for them to have.
Yeah. Nice. So here are my thoughts. In my view, the Carthaginians are maybe the inverse mirror of the Athenians, where if we were talking about a water map, I'd say they are a good Civ, probably an A rank Civ. My impulse is to say not an S Civ, and the reason why is because the bonuses that you have up until the Imperial Age are not as strong for the Carthaginians as the Athenian bonuses are. You do get the trireme, which is nice, but and the naval text costing 50% less is nice. So you got some flexibility, but in my experience, a lot of times water battles are won and the ocean is controlled in a 1v1 environment in the early antiquity age. You just get a snowball going right out of the gate, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose that. So if the ocean is controlled, then you're going to be struck like your opponent. Let's say you're going Carthaginians versus Athenians. The Athenians, I think, have an advantage. Yep. If they get control of the water, then you're doing an uphill battle, trying to get back onto the water and kind of rebuild a navy to contest your opponent who already has control. And in a 1v1 situation, I know the Kothon is kind of one of Rome at War's prize buildings, and you're right. If you get there, you probably just win off the Kothon. But do you actually make it to the Imperial Age where water is being contested and that's still, that battle is still being decided? I feel like, at least in my experience, most of the games I've played, water is decided before the Imperial Age, in the Middle Antiquity Age, and so the Kothon maybe just comes in too late to make a difference. At least in my experience. Now, that might be different in a team game environment. That may be different in, just in battles for players better than I am. But that's my experience. For a 1v1 world, I would not put. I don't think the Kothon matters so much because it's typically going to be decided before then. So for a naval map, I'd say maybe an A Civ for Carthaginians. But on land, these guys, I've got to say, I think they might be. I don't want to throw around words like overpowered easily. I want to have some humility to my own view. But boy, these guys are really, really strong. You got the Scout Rush, which is both 50% less food, and you got the Scout Armor on top of that. So, and armor, if you follow the meta, you know that when you play melee or you play cav units, your armor upgrades are typically considered more important than your attack upgrades. So having those armor upgrades for free and your scouts costing less, that's really strong. Even if you decide not to go into the Scout Rush, you go into the next age, you play some really strong knight play. You've got the armor upgrades already good to go. Your knights costing 15% less, so that is, let's see, that's 60 food by default. So 15, so that's like 9 food less for each knight. And for your scouts, that would be, again, 80 food, so 8 plus 4, 12. 12 food saved per scout, which means if you get up like 3 scouts for a 4-scout rush or something, well, that's 12 times 3. 36 food you're saving right there. And they're armored on top of that. That is ridiculously strong. You have access to the camel, which has the same bonuses as well, of course. Then you have a nearly fully complete blacksmith upgrade. You are missing the final attack, but you have full armor, which you get for free, and then additional armor from the Council of 104. Dude, these guys are really strong. And then you add in the flexibility of Mercenary Corps, which, by the way, I love the historical significance. Hannibal used a lot of mercenaries in his March on Rome, and these 3 units come from civilizations and cultures that are connected to the Carthaginians. So I do love that from a historical point of view. My question to you is kind of more from a meta point of view. How does this work? But I do think it provides them some flexibility that's really nice. It doesn't seem like you have a half-bad archer line or infantry line either, even if you don't take advantage of Mercenary Corps.
Mm-hmm.
You do have the War Elephant, which, again, is stronger than in the base game, but even ignoring the War Elephant, I think these guys are S tier. I think just
one thing I want to say, we just maybe as we move on to the other Civs as well, we can look at Siege Workshop and University real quick.
You're right. That is true. I've kind of been focusing in on their, on the 3 main units. For the fun of it, very quickly, let's just provide a quick overview of siege. Armenians have a decent siege. You're missing siege onager and heavy scorpion. Kind of stings, but that's all right, I guess. The Athenians they're missing siege ram, but otherwise it looks like they've got a full siege workshop. And again, with the Athenians, you have the cheaper techs and the wood discounts elsewhere. So that's really nice if you want to go into siege. The Britons missing heavy scorpion and siege ram, but they do get the siege onager. Okay. And I am missing in the university is do they get siege
That was
workshop?
one reason Britain's university is pretty bad.
Yeah.
The other civs have fairly good universities all around.
Okay, so the Armenians, they do get advanced weaponry. I think isn't it advanced weaponry? That's the
That's chemistry.
no, I'm sorry, siege engineers. Here we go. So Athenians do get it. The Armenians do get it. The Britons don't. Wow, their university is really bad. The Carthaginians do get it. So some really nice siege. I appreciate the catch there, BP. Yeah, I think these guys are S tier. I think that I'm putting everybody else in A right now. Unless, okay, I'll keep Athenians there, but they're low at, like, if it's Navy, Athenians are S. If it's land, Carthaginians are S. But right now, that's where I'm at. Egyptians. Infantry and pre-civ. Villagers carry 3 resources. Transport ships, fishing ships, merchant ships all have plus 10 carry capacity. Farmers cost 40% less. I'm sorry, farms. Farms cost 40% less. Priests cost 25% less. Relics visible on the map at the start of the game. The Medjay Warrior is a unique unit, as well as the Horse Warrior and the Tessera Conteres. They're unique techs. Copis, Medjay Warriors, and Swordsmen have +2 attack. Marianu, Chariots have +6 attack. In the Imperial Age, Great Library. Villagers work 2% faster for each university tech researched. Aegyptiaca. Priests, Horse Warriors, and Medjay Warriors cost 30% less. Wow. Okay. So let's kind of analyze this here. So villas carry +2 resources. That's like the Aztec bonus. Just a good all-around, flexible bonus for your eco. That just helps you out with whatever you want to do. Transport ships, fishing ships, and merchant ships carry 10 plus 10 more. So that's really nice for if you're playing on a naval map and you think you can defend your fishing ships, especially on a map like Four Lakes. This would be amazing. Merchant ships, of course, too. If you're playing a diplomacy game or a team game on the water, Egyptians are really nice to have as a teammate. It seems like. Farm is costing 40% less. That's like the Teutons bonus. That one's really nice. Help get your eco going. Egypt, of course, historically was kind of the breadbasket of the Mediterranean. So I really like seeing this the economic focus that the Egyptians have. That fits a lot with how they were historically. So that's pretty cool. Priests cost 25% less. So I'm assuming they cost 100 gold, just like normal, for an AoE2. Priests cost 100 gold. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's 25% less. So they're down to 75 gold. And then an additional 30% less in the Imperial Age if you pick up Egyptica. So they go from 75 down to 45 gold for their priests, as well as their horse warriors and Medjay warriors costing less too. So that's really nice. Okay, so you got some monk options. I'm starting to imagine them as something of a maybe like a siege monk push. Like they'd be really good for that. Yep. Relics visible on the map at the start of the game. That's cool. The Medjay Warrior, a unique infantry unit, strong versus other infantry, but weak versus cav and archers. I'm going to guess this is kind of like the Aztecs with their Jaguar Warrior.
Correct.
If you were, if your opponent goes heavy into infantry, then this is a really great pickup. But the way we often see the meta play out is archers or cav tend to dominate. So assuming your opponent is going in one of those two directions, Medjay maybe won't see as much play as, if you want an infantry unit, maybe just go into your typical, swordsman line. So I don't know that the unique unit, it will be helpful in that situation, but I don't know how often that situation will come up. You do have the Horse Warrior as well, which is kind of the Eagle Warrior for Again, a very Aztec sort of civ for the Egyptians. Um, you've got some nice unique techs giving your Eagle Warriors, or again, your Medjay Warriors more attack, as well as your Swordsman line. No, that's Medjay. I'm sorry, that's Medjay and Swordsman for Copus. Or the Mariano giving your Chariots +6 attack. You do get Chariots in the stable, which... Let's see. They are a cav unit with low speed and health, but they're strong versus infantry and archers. So I guess a good anti-archer. Can you talk to me a little bit about the chariot? How are they strong versus archers? Do they have a lot of pierce armor, or what's their deal?
They do not. They have 1 pierce armor. I think it's just because of how much HP they have and attack. They can shred through archers similar to knights.
Okay.
But they do have 1 less pierce armor, and the Egyptians missed the last cav armor,
and they just don't get knights at all. So they just have they have the chariot as kind of a backup. So the chariot we would think of as interesting. It costs wood instead of food. That means that's interesting because their farms cost less, and they've got so much food focus that if you're going into chariots, that's going to cut into maybe your archer play. If you were going archers as the Egyptians. Interesting. Okay. So, all right. That's interesting. I see where their stable seems to be on the weaker side. I imagine the chariot is kind of a weaker knight, but you maybe have that bonus against archers. Let's see. Yeah, they have more HP, less attack. They have the same amount of armor, more line of sight. Less speed, they build a little bit slower, and they attack a little bit slower. Interesting. Very interesting unit. I've not played... excuse me. I've not played a lot with the Egyptians. So that's pretty cool. Okay. The unique techs are kind of cool. The chariot's getting +6 attack. That helps out a lot. That would give them a pretty big edge that they need. So Mariano, I think, is probably going to be more important. Copus is like if you're going infantry, you're winning and you're just trying to seal the deal. But if it's a long game, I'm expecting Mariano to be the more useful tech to kind of give you some flexibility there. And then the Great Library. This is pretty cool. Great Library gives your eco just all around. You already have an all around nice, broad, varied eco. Great Library just adds to that. Egyptica, though, saves you resources on your Horus Warriors or your Medjay Warriors or your Priests. But I bet you Great Library comes into play more often. I think there are 2 techs. Mariano and Great Library seem like the techs you'd want to pick up most of the time. Let's take a look. Archers are almost full. Yeah, no, you got fully upgraded archer options. You've got infantry with some infantry bonuses if you want. You are missing champion, but you have the Medjay Warrior. You have full infantry armor. You are missing the final cav tech. You are missing the knight line. You're forced into the chariot instead, which costs an awful lot of wood. In the late game, wood is abundant, but early on, in a 1v1 situation, wood is, I think, a little bit slower to pick up. Wood is pretty important, and being forced to pay wood instead of food hurts, especially because you've got those food bonuses that are nice. So I'm going to go ahead. I know where I would put these guys, but what do you think? For me, I'll just go tell you, I think it's B. I think this is a B civ. They're nice, they're flexible, but I don't see anything that's really strong that kind of pushes them to that next level for me. What do you think?
So I initially thought that before I've played them a few times, I've played against them a few times, but I think they have so much eco to help them out, just nice little bonuses. Stone miners, even like that's just a stone miners working 10% faster in a team game. That's very nice. That is almost the free stone mining upgrade, so it can be helpful for them getting a fort out.
Sure.
They're missing a heated shot only in the university, so obviously Great Library. You can get them to 22% faster working villagers, which I have a feeling after we'll get to Persians in a little bit. I have a feeling that may have to be nerfed because the Persian one, after I had played with their faster working villagers, Conqueror said, yeah, that needs to be tuned down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But with them having two amazing Imperial Age techs, it just depends on what you want to go for. I think they are A tier simply because the Horse Warrior, aka the Eagle Warrior, it's a great option.
Mm-hmm.
They have archer play. They have okay navy, not a very open tech tree, but they can do well on water. Tessara Contras they're one of the two civs that get
Yeah.
that. It's a meme. I'd say it's a war elephant on water. It don't really want to spend too many resources on it, but if you get
It is really cool though.
yeah, it is very cool. I love using it. If you want to dump 60 army into one and go land somebody's island, I actually did that with 60 horse warriors, and I ended up winning the game from that on a team game. I destroyed their entire island because I just sent a Tessara over there full of eagle warriors. I think they're A tier. We will have to see which level they are. They're the Aztecs, basically, like you said. They're the Aztecs,
Yeah.
but they have a stable option.
Yeah.
Cheaper monks, everything.
Yeah.
In the chariot, though, it's I think I've calculated they're the third most expensive unit in Rome at war. They can be used very well, and if you get faster working villagers, Imperial Age, if you get to that point, 23 damage elite chariots would be no joke.
Yeah. You know what it might be? I will admit this. Part of my play style and my bias is I'm the kind of guy who likes to decide the game in the Castle Age. And so when I look at, I think the Civ is an extremely strong eco Civ. I see eco bonuses out the wazoo. It just left, right, front and center, just everywhere. The Egyptians have an amazing economy, and I can see that in a long game, in a post imperial kind of game, just the power of the Egyptian eco carrying them over the edge. I guess maybe I'm looking for something that's just strong in the early the early antiquity or the middle antiquity age. And I don't see the kind of power spike on the military side that I'm looking for out of the Egyptians, which is probably why I'm going to rate them lower. And I'll stick with B just to, I think the contrast is interesting. But you might be right. It may be that their eco is so strong that, they're hard to beat. So,
all right.
Next up, we got the Gauls. These guys are fun. Infantry and siege civ. Military units train 10% faster, except for siege. But wait, look at their team bonus. Siege workshops work 20% faster. So you've got the siege engines working 20% faster. All the other military units building 10% faster. Infantry armor upgrades are free. So this is the infantry version of the Carthaginian bonus. Siege weapons fire 25% faster. Gold miners work 15% faster. TCs cost 50% less stone. They build 25% faster, starting in the Middle Antiquity Age. Obviously, just trying to keep them from being OP on Nomad. But so TCs cost 50% less stone. They build 25% faster. What an amazing set of bonuses. You have the Ambaxtoi as their unique unit, which is a unique infantry that blocks arrows for units behind it. So this is like an infantry version of a Hussite war wagon. So it's covering arrow fire for units behind it. It's kind of a really awesome frontline unit. Great for raiding too, I bet. So these guys, they got a pretty cool unique unit, unique techs. You can either let infantry heal 30 HP per minute, or Opida, town centers fire arrows even when ungarrisoned. And then in the Imperial Age, Fura Celtica, infantry damage adjacent units. Or Gallia Lugdunensis, elite legionaries enabled at the barracks. Legionaries cost 30% less food. So, this Civ, I see this and I'm immediately thinking Pike Siege Rush. It's like you have incredible infantry options. You got the infantry armor right out of the gate, so you could try some kind of, again, short swordsman rush, and you've got the armor already ready to go. So they're amazing at that kind of rush. If you maybe want to try some other play, and then you move into spearmen, a spearman mangonel push to try to end the game in the Middle Antiquity age. You've got faster working gold miners. So if you're trying to get up, siege units, and maybe you want to throw swordsmen in, the faster working gold miners help with that. You have, again, you're not having to spend any resources on the infantry armor. You've got the siege workshops that work faster. The siege units themselves fire faster. This is my kind of civ. I look at this and I go, yeah, these guys are strong. For me, they're really cool. If you get a castle up, you have the Ambachstoi, which just are even better for supporting your infantry and your siege. If you're facing archers, you have Ambachstoi in the front, and you just make the archer units less effective overall. I'm guessing they have a lot of pierce armor. They should. Yeah, 3 pierce armor by default, but then they get the free infantry armor on top of that. So these are gonna be some tanky boys. I really like them. I think that their unique techs are okay. I don't think they're breaking the bank. Wrong turn of phrase. They're not breaking the game. Healing is nice, not needing priests. Or if you have priests, I guess you go into Opida and just make your eco just a little bit safer, which is pretty cool. In the Imperial Age, Fura Celtica, if your infantry are doing well, you want to just go all in on infantry and try to end the game with that. That's really awesome. Or you can unlock legionaries, which is again a cool historical nod to Julius Caesar's conquest of Gaul. And they cost less food, which is nice. So, A rank for me. What do you think?
A rank over Egyptians, eh?
A rank over Egyptians. Again, this might be my bias, because I could very well imagine if this were to go into an imperial situation, a post-imperial situation, I could see Gauls falling off and the Egyptians overcoming, right? I love getting in that first punch, and it seems like the Gauls have a really, really strong first punch and a follow-up punch available to them that decides the tempo of the game before it gets to the Imperial Age. That's where my bias comes in, or my play style and the way I like to rank civs. So yeah.
I like it. I respect it. Yeah, it's good. We have 2 varying play styles, I suppose. I usually
Sure.
I like to see what the end game is.
Mhm.
You're wanting to get it done early. Another thing I like to think about that plays a part in most of the base game civs is eco options and a strong military unit or a strong military option. Egyptians have strong eco. They don't have a beefy unit really, except for the chariot. Gauls, they got some beefy options, super strong infantry, obviously siege, but they don't have any eco to help it except for town centers and gold miners. Even that, like that's pretty strong for the siege, especially. I think they're in A tier. I would say that. Another thing to consider is how expensive. Well, first you got to get a fort up if you're going to get any of those techs. How expensive they are. The imperial ones are pretty high up there. I would almost always go for tribal remedies. I'm probably going to be using infantry, so it's not too bad. I was
going to ask you because we've seen now several civs, and I'm sure there's several more on the docket, where we get legionaries unlocked at the barracks, and I really appreciate those texts from a historical point of view, historical nod. But how useful is that, do you think, from a meta perspective? Are the legionaries just that much better? I'm sure they are better, but are they so much better than long swordsmen that you would want to invest in those texts? Or, like you said, is it kind of Fura Celtica is what you pick most of the time instead?
Yeah, for Gauls, I'd probably go Fura Celtica, but like you said, we've seen Armenians get them. I think that's more historical accuracy. However that plays, you may know I don't. I don't think Armenians would ever want that over the less pop scout cav.
Right.
But I mean the legionaries are a great unit, but they don't benefit from supplies. And if you're going to use them well, you probably want to tech into ranged and melee ability, and the Gauls are missing Bracer. So the range legionary is not going to be that great. You'll probably be
Mm-hmm.
using them to support some siege anyways, but
Yeah.
I think outside of the 2 Roman civs, the ones that get legionaries, probably not the best option to go for if you're trying to conclude the game.
Right. I wonder, this is a total off the cuff thought. I wonder if it would be interesting if the Armenians, instead of getting legionaries, if they got the other Roman unique unit, the Cav. But they've already got Irudzi, because it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway.
The prefect.
Yeah. But okay, so for me, Gauls, I'll say A tier. I think maybe they're a little predictable. You're right that they don't get an early eco bonus, but if you can pull off that militia rush and disrupt your opponent's eco, that is a kind of eco bonus, and your militia rush has that extra armor, so you're just going to be that much more effective at the militia rush or the swordsman. I guess the armor upgrade. So in the early antiquity age, the short swordsman rush. That would be a really nice option in the early game for the Gauls and sets the stage for, what you can do from there. So, yeah, I like the Civ. Yeah, look at this. See how in the blacksmith, almost everything, they only get blast furnace and plate armor, but you don't get the final cav upgrade. You don't get the archer upgrades. So I think you start falling off in the Imperial Age. You want to try to end the game or decide it in the Middle Antiquity Age, which is, again, my style. So next up, Germani. Now, I am the Iron Kaiser. I should love the Germani. They should be, SS tier, SSSS, ultimate super tier for the Germans. But I don't know that I'm actually going to put them there. Their lumberjacks work 15% faster, which is nice. They can create the Dejburg wagons at the town center, which, by the way, are so much fun. That's one of my favorite units in the game. Being able to kind of create this unit, and he could just he's like a little portable, lumberjack or lumber camp, mining camp or something, and having Vils being able to be more flexible and mobile. I love the design of this Civ. So the Dejburg wagons are really cool. Infantry units cost less through the ages. Their unique unit is the Komite, which is their German unique infantry. They deal trample damage. Strong versus massed infantry, weak versus archers and cav. I'm going to guess that functionally this is kind of like with Egypt, where if you're dealing with a bunch of infantry, you're maybe they're in a trash situation and you've saved some gold. The Komite is kind of like the horse warrior, wasn't it, or the Medjay warrior, where it's great in that situation, but how often will that situation actually come up where you can actually use the Komite effectively? I'm going to guess that it's like that. Yeah, they're weak versus archers and cav, which is the way that most people play the game. So I don't know how useful the unique unit is in most situations. Especially when I'm guessing, I don't know if this applies to their unique unit, where the regular barracks units cost less through the ages, so you can get a good massive infantry going yourself. Maybe you just rely on your swordsman instead.
Yeah, the Komite, I'm almost 100% certain it gets cheaper as well.
Okay, well that's good. That's good. At least it keeps up in that way. Your unique units, Cuneus. Infantry have +1 line of sight and +1 pierce armor. Really nice if you're going to go infantry. Or Batawi Uprising. Champions and auxiliary spearmen can be trained rapidly at the town center. You've already got faster working lumberjacks and cheaper infantry. I'm thinking you're already wanting to throw down a lot of barracks. So I don't know how useful Batawi Uprising is. Maybe as some kind of... If Batawi Uprising is cheap, let me go look this up here. Batawi Uprising. 400 food, 400 gold. If it was cheap and researched fast, I could see it as kind of an emergency pick. But otherwise, I think Cuneus is what you'd want the vast majority of the time. And you can just afford extra barracks because your lumberjacks work faster. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's kind of my impulse there. Auxilius mercenaries. Infantry move 20... Oh, this is so cool. This is a suggestion that I had given that made its way into the game, and I really love seeing it. Outposts allow the Germans to move faster, and you just get to choose. Auxilia mercenaries allow infantry to move faster when near an outpost, or migration period, Vils work faster around outposts, which I assume that's not just movement, but also carry speed. So you can use the outposts to kind of just improve your economy. Dejbjerg wagons move 25% faster. I really, really love how this civilization plays. They're one of my favorite civs from a gameplay perspective. Blacksmith techs cost 40% less food. That's a really nice bonus. Again, especially if you want to try some early antiquity play where resources are scarce. Being able to save 40% food, that's 15 times 4, so that's what, 60 food off of forging, 60 food off of scale mail armor. No, that's 40 food off scale mail armor. 60 food off scale barding armor. So you have lots of early antiquity age rush options, I think, between the faster working lumberjacks, the cheaper blacksmith techs, the infantry costing less. Really great options there. They do seem to maybe fall off a little bit, which doesn't surprise me for these barbarian factions. That seems to be how they should. I would give them an S rank for flavor. They're one of my favorite civs to play, but my impulse is to say low A or even high B on how they actually pan out in practice, because I think I don't want to overvalue the rush potential, and I do think that they aren't as strong as some of our other options. I'm going to say, because I want to be fair and unbiased, as I love this civ. I don't know that they need buffs or anything, but for me, I'll go with B tier, high B. What do you think?
I would agree with you there. And just another couple points, like they have a decent shipyard for military options on water. They don't get any of the great imperial ships. Very few civs do. Their siege isn't bad. If you want to go, you're an infantry civ, you want to have siege ram, they get that. That's a great option. But they do fall off in imperial age, like you said. That's where I can put my perspective in a little more. It's like you definitely want to rush earlier. I think B is a good point for him. If you're going to try to go late game, you want to get Cuneus from the fort because you're missing that last armor upgrade, even though your infantry's cheaper. What's funny, the Dejbjerg wagon, I have not been able to justify when I play them until Castle Age, just because it costs 2 lumber camps basically.
Right.
And what you're really going to be using them for is a movable lumber camp. You don't have to refresh. A side note, they get bonus from masonry, so they get extra armor and health. And what's I thought of would be super funny, you can't put them into, I don't think you can put them in control groups. They don't follow queuing movement cues very well, but they have a lot of health and pierce armor. So if you wanted to tank castle fire and send infantry in, you could use a Dejbjerg wagon for that.
Yeah.
But back to like real gameplay. So we've tested Batavia Uprising a lot now in our community games. It is a very strong option. And it's funny, your perspective of trying to end the game early. If you're wanting to do that with Germani, you go for that. You get champions and halberdiers in Castle Age. You don't have to buy any of the upgrades.
Okay.
And they train very fast, and they benefit from the cheaper tech.
I missed that.
Being cheaper.
I assumed it was just the militia line and the spear line, but no. Okay, if you're able to get imperial techs, imperial units in the Castle Age, okay, I see that. I like it. All right.
It is a very strong option in early game. If you got a wide open map, it's not going to be very helpful. But something like Arena, you can really flood somebody. We've done that. Tried it on Arabia a couple times. Like, it is a very strong option. But if you can't get the kill, you haven't been making villagers from your TCs. You've probably been making the military. If you can't get the kill, then you missed out on making villagers. You missed out on late game having that pierce armor for your infantry. But I think they have good Castle Age potential. They do start falling off. I think B tier is good for them.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I wonder if it's even possible if you can use the just as a possible this is again off the cuff kind of thing. I wonder if Dejberg wagons could be used like in the programming to create units. Like if maybe that's if they need a buff, if there's something like that, you know.
Hmm.
But anyway, okay, cool. I'm still gonna say I'm gonna stick with my original B choice. But
Yep.
I see now Batavi has a lot of potential to end the game quickly. I like that. Um, okay, okay. Next up, we have the Goths, which I love what they've done with the Goths. Thank you, Roman War devs, for taking the Goths and making them a civilization that is much more historically accurate than the Goths that we see in game. Because historically, the Goths were actually a very strong cavalry civ. They were not the kind of mass wave infantry rush kind of guys that is in AoE2. So I think this is a way better representation. Heavy cavalryman upgrade. So that's basically our cavalier in Roman War. Available in the Middle Antiquity Age. Cav get +1 melee armor. Infantry get +1 attack versus buildings. Farmers work 10% faster. Loom can be researched instantly. You have the Huskarl as their unique unit, which is probably, I don't imagine that's any different from AoE2. Anarchy is, of course, still in the game. Or you can pick Angon. Skirmishers throw a second projectile. And then it's sort of interesting. Both of them are anti-archer options. It's just whether you want to go with the Huskarl as your anti-archer or the Skirmisher as your anti-archer. And I guess that decision would be whether you plan on getting into a trash war or not. If not, you go Huskarl. If so, better to upgrade your Skirmishers. Perfusion. Barracks work 100% faster. Or Lamellar Armor. Cavalrymen get +2 melee, +1 pierce armor. And of course, your barracks work 20% faster. This is a really nice civ. I like the flexibility. I like the fast working barracks. I love, cavalrymen having additional melee armor is really, really nice. I guess that makes them better against. I'm not sure how useful it is against pikemen, spearmen, but it helps in knight versus knight fights. It helps in knights versus infantry fights. Being able to pick up lamellar armor means they have very good, even though you're missing plate mail. Let me see. Interesting. So plate mail gives +1 melee, +2 pierce. With lamellar, you get +2 pierce, +1 melee. So it's kind of a replacement for plate mail that makes them stronger in that world.
Yeah, switches the numbers.
Yeah. Interesting. So, and then otherwise, you got a full blacksmith tech. You are missing the final infantry armor, but that's okay because you're Goths. They're not as strong infantry as they were, but you still have faster working barracks. You have infantry with more attack upgrades. They're good. They are good. And your archers, how are they? You've got a full blacksmith tech, 4 archers. You're missing marksmanship and Parthian tactics. Maybe I'm knight biased, but I really like the melee armor. I like the faster working farmers makes your cav play just that much stronger. I really, really like cav play. I like how you can use infantry to break in, so you don't even need to go into siege if you get a good infantry ball going. I'm thinking maybe low A. I think they might be better than Germani, but I don't think they're at the top level. Like the Carthaginian strength, I think, is overwhelmingly strong. I don't think the Goths are quite like that, but given a late game situation, they have some really good options. Whether you want to go infantry, you want to go cav, I like it. So I'm going to say low A.
I'd probably stick with my old assumption still. I think they would be a high B.
Okay.
I've played with them a couple times now. I did a 1v1 with another 1300, specifically going for triple stable early heavy cavman. I did a lot of damage. The guy he's better than me. I was able to do a lot of damage though, make it look good. He ended up holding on and winning out in the end. I think they're strong. Their only eco bonus is slightly faster working farms, and the military options they want to go for are missing out on a few things. Like they're cav focused, but they only get to heavy cav, you don't get
Right.
Imperial, which is Paladin. They missed the last armor, which you would replace it with lamellar from a fort, so you would have to have a fort. Then you have to get that. You have to get Imperial Age, get that tech,
Mhm.
and then their infantry are missing the last armor. So it's like you feel maybe forced towards Huskarl.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then if you're going to get Huskarl, are you going to go for perfusion instead of lamellar armor? I think so. It's options obviously, but I
Yeah.
think both of their options are not as strong as some other civs have.
Mhm.
Uh, I think I would keep them more towards
Yeah.
B. Their siege, they don't get the imperial upgrades. Um, Navy, it's kind of fairly basic.
Yeah.
They don't get any bonuses towards that, and their university is also lacking.
Yeah. The thing I want to add in too, for those of you who are again making comparisons to the regular AoE2, you see this heavy cav upgrade available in the Middle Antiquity Age. You think, oh, well, that's just like the Burgundians. But one interesting point of comparison is for the Burgundians, you are missing out on bloodlines, if I'm not mistaken, and so that actually does quite a bit to make the Castle Age Cavalier unit not as strong as it otherwise would be. And
Hmm.
here with the Goths, yeah, they've got that Burgundian bonus, but they get bloodlines, they get husbandry, and so I think it just makes them even stronger than the Burgundians in that strategy. If you're kind of making comparisons, drawing notes there,
However, they do it. They have to pay full price for that.
that is true.
For that
They got to
upgrade.
pay.
Yep.
They got to pay full price for the techs. Good thing they've got the faster working farmers or the Slav bonus. So yeah, I see what you're saying, and obviously I think you've definitely played more Rome at War games than I have. So, um, interesting. All right, next Civ, Huns. Let me just make sure I've got the Goths where they're going to be. Yep, Huns. They're a Cav Civ. I think this is pretty similar to what's in the base game. They don't need houses, but start with 100 less wood. Cav archers cost less to the ages. Light Cav have 20% more HP. I think that's all base so far. The Tarkin is their unique unit. Unique techs, Marauders, create Tarkins at the stable, or Pastoral Nomads. Cav units cost 30% less food. Wow. Scourge of God. Enemy relics generate 50% slower. Allied units take longer to convert. Ah, I see. We've taken atheism and first off, A, made it a little bit more historically accurate, and then B, buffed it up some. So now you're going Cav. If you go heavy to Knights, maybe they want to play Monks, try to convert your units, pick up Scourge of God, and now your units will not convert as quickly. Or I suppose maybe if you go into a siege play. Point is, if you're running into Monks, that's a good option. Or if your enemy has all the relics, maybe. Steppe Husbandry. Cav Archers and Tarkins train 100% faster, and their team bonus stables work 20% faster. Wow. So this is basically just the Huns from AoE2, but with some extra unique text thrown in, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm missing something, let me know. I think Pastoral Nomads is strong. You know, you're going already heavily into Cav units, Cav archers, and then scouts behind that. So if you've got scouts that have 20% more HP, and then there's the stables work 20% faster, and their Cav units cost 30% less with Pastoral Nomads, that's... And I could see going for that over Marauders. I wonder, does Pastoral Nomads include Marauders? Does that from the castle? I don't know.
You saying includes Tarkins?
Yeah, does Pastoral Nomads include Tarkins? Do you know?
I do not know. I can't say I've played Huns yet.
Yeah.
In this or in the base game. I just don't like them that much.
Yeah.
I
know.
If it does, that's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're already cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Cav archers cost less with Pastoral Nomads. Now everything else costs less. Your other Cav units cost less. I guess if you're up against Huns, you're dealing with Cav and Cav archers. But man, that's a nice late game bonus. I think maybe Huns are a little bit weak in the early Antiquity Age, but their bonuses really start coming into their own in the Middle Age, Imperial Age. I suppose you could use... Well, let me see. Light Cav. Is that the... Yeah, no, that's... Yeah. So they don't really have anything going for them in the early Antiquity Age other than not needing to to build houses, which is kind of it's a bonus, but also sort of a nerf for like house walling on Arabia. You got a stables work faster, so I guess you've got a faster scout rush. The early game, I think they're weaker, but then boy, the potential in the late game for just a disgusting ball of cav archer, heavy cav archer, and scouts supporting that. Really, really, really nice, really cheap, fast. Huh. Is this? I would say maybe. I'll go. I could see anything. I could see anything.
You know, if our Huns A tier and base game tier list.
I remember in the old Age of Empires, before the definitive edition, they used to be called Hun Wars because no one would play anything but Huns. They were the strongest civ in the game by far. DE has changed that. Huns are a decent civ. I don't think they're S rank, but maybe I'm gonna put them. I feel like a broken record if I keep putting everything in like A, but
it's understandable though.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna change my mind on this. I know in like 20 minutes, but I'm gonna put them in like high B right now. I think they've got an amazing late game composition, but I am the early game guy, and I think that they might be a little slow to get the ball rolling. Of course, they do have the faster working stables, but I don't know. That's what I'm going to go for now. What do you think? What's your vote?
Yeah, I don't know if they're A tier in the base game or not. They're basically better in this version. So, you have that. I think people have picked them a couple times in our community games. I know Conqueror loves them. He loves cav archers.
Yeah.
I think high B is fine though. They're predictable. But they're able to do their stuff well, and they're pretty simple too. There's nothing you have to really think hard about, which is always nice. That means you can focus more on doing what you know you're going to do instead of second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
Pastoral nomads can be very helpful. They don't get imperial cavemen, but you could probably end the game earlier than that would matter.
Right.
They're missing the last two armors for their essential units. Whenever I see that for cav archers, though, I'm like, well, Parthian tactics kind of makes up for that. Obviously, you would prefer to have ring archer armor, but them being cheaper is the reason why.
Yeah.
I think high B is fine.
Okay.
They have siege ram, which is fine. Their university is a bit lacking, but yeah, I think you're kind of hit the nail on the head, though. They might be A tier, but maybe B is okay for the Rome at War mod.
Yeah. I think as strong as some of the other civs are, I'll go ahead and leave it at B for now. I think that's fair. All right, next up we have Iberians. We're about halfway done with the list at this point. Iberians. Skirmishers fire 25% faster, have no minimum range. Infantry generate food while fighting. These guys are cool. Supplies, force march are free. The Ketrati infantry is pretty neat. We actually saw them when we talked about the Carthaginians. The Ketratus is an Iberian unique infantry with an area charge attack. Strong versus infantry and massed enemies. Weak versus archers and cav. Okay. So again, another infantry unit that feels sort of like the Medjay and the Kuneus, where it's really good if you. How much do they have? A lot of pierce armor? They don't have a lot of pierce armor, so it'd be hard to get them into a ball of archers. They'll die to them. If they're up against mass infantry, they'll shred. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't know how well you use them in a meta situation. In a 1v1. I'm assuming a 1v1 fight, but it could be different in, team games and that kind of thing. So, infantry generate food while fighting, which is cool. Supplies and force march are free, so these guys are definitely an infantry civ. Infantry skirm combo is really nice. The unique text, raiding band, Kaitrati also generate gold while fighting. And soliferum, skirmishers pierce through armor, deal 50% less base damage. Now, both of these are going to throw me for a little bit of a loop. For rating bands, I got to figure out how does the Kytratus compare to the base infantry unit. Like, do you want to go Kytratus instead of, broadswordsman if you've got your choice? Because broadswordsman, you've got supplies, and you have supplies for free for that matter, and it's easier to mass swordsman. So I don't think rating bands would be worth it unless Kytratus is just so much better that you're willing to make that switch already. Then Kytratus, then that bonus is really nice. And then Soliferum actually nerfs your skirmishers. They do 50% less base damage, but it says piercer. I'm assuming that means it ignores armor. So I'm going to guess that means that skirmishers do a better job against high pierce armor targets, but then they do a worse job against low pierce armor targets. I'm trying to figure out the math on that.
Yep, that's I'd say that's a good, essentially. That's a good way to look at it.
So I guess skirmishers would, they would do a much better job against enemy skirmishers. They would do a better job against, again, armor units like knights or something like that. And I guess you're using them as a support for your infantry, kind of like a discount archer at that point. But not doing as well against maybe spearmen, which they normally counter. But now, the spearmen have no they have no pierce armor, so that bonus doesn't really help. And I don't know. I'm guessing I probably pick up. Why did I go to Huns? I guess I'd pick up Soliferum before I pick up rating bands, but I don't know. That's interesting. Concussare. Infantry gain a charge attack, which I guess is kind of similar to what the Kytratus already has. So if you're not going Kytratus, now the rest of your infantry gain that charge attack, which is cool. The Cantabrian Circle. Cav archers gain a charge shield against range attack. So now the Cav archers have kind of a what's it called for the Gujaras? The Shrivamsha Rider.
Shrivamsha.
They had a Shrivamsha shield now as Cav archers, which is amazing. Interesting late game options. Farms contain 50% more food, which is nice. I really like this Civ. I really love the flavor. This matches what we know of the Iberians so much. The Iberians of the classical world were not well known for their archers, but were well known for their skirmishers, the javelins. And so kind of developing this Civ along that line is really nice. So flavor-wise, again, SSSS rank, like really cool Civ from that perspective. But I'm thinking, unless I'm missing something, I'm actually going to go ahead, just for the sake of flavor, of mixing up, I'm going to put these guys in C. I think that they're missing some X factor in their strategy that, like if I go for a rush, like an infantry rush, okay, they generate some food. I don't know. I guess it depends on the numbers, but I don't know that it's that much of a help. And you get supplies, which is nice. So you can go into infantry. They've got good infantry. Siege Workshop is really nice. You're missing the Siege Onager. The Blacksmith is overall good. Missing that final Archer attack tech, the Cav armor tech you're missing as well. Docks seem okay. I guess you're losing out a lot in the Imperial Age. Universities, like 50% of it's there. You do get ballistics, which is nice. You get Siege Engineer. Okay, so I guess they're okay on a. I don't know. I don't see an eco bonus that really helps out a lot, other than the team bonus. But they don't have a really strong eco bonus early game, and I don't see anything dominating in the late game other than Cantabrian Circle. So all of a sudden you go Cav Archer, but that's kind of a late game tech switch. I don't know. I think they're missing something. They could use a little something. But that's my perspective. BP, what do you think?
I would agree. I would. Conqueror loves them. I think he said it's his favorite design civ. Just the idea of them being a rating. I guess one of the barbarian civs. I've played them a couple times now. I've tried to appease his desire to see them played well in the community games. The infantry food bonus he has buffed several times now, so it is actually fairly noticeable. And he made it so if you attack buildings, you gain food.
Okay.
So if you do a little short swordsman rush, even a drush,
Mhm.
and you can't find damage, just start hitting the player's mill, and then you can think of it as stealing their berries.
Yeah,
You're getting food from it. You can hit their houses, you'll get some
that's
food
cool.
from it, which in the early game can be pretty helpful.
Yeah.
The Ketrati,
Mhm.
I have not gone for, except I think in a free for all that was like a while back. It is too expensive, I think, compared to just going for the militia line.
Yeah.
You don't get champion in the end game, so maybe you want to go for that, but it's too expensive. You're making them from the fort. The charge attack is nice, but maybe you're already going for charge attack with your infantry, which is interesting to think about. I don't know the exact numbers. I did play a full trash war with siege ram. I love Halb siege push. That's probably one of my favorite
Mhm.
combos.
Mhm.
So I did that with them on arena, and my auxiliary spearmen got +6 attack per charged hit, I think. So
Wow.
that's very nice, and the meter recharges fairly quickly. I want to say in a few seconds.
Hmm.
So they could be potentially strong there. We have not gotten to see Cantabrian Circle used yet. It may be super strong. We don't know. They're missing out on bracers, so that kind of makes up for it. I think C tier is fine. They like you're delaying getting horse collar, I guess, a bit
Mhm.
with your extra food on your farm. But if you're not getting too much food from raiding somebody with your militia or spearmen, then you're not getting anything,
Yeah.
and you don't have a beefy unit to back you up.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I definitely know where Conqueror's coming from. I love the flavor and the design of this Civ. But as I'm just compared to some of the others that I see, I don't. I think it's missing something. So C tier for me. Yeah. Macedonians or Macedonians, if you use your Latin pronunciation. The Macedonians are an infantry and cav civilization. Oh yeah, their barracks and stable units get +1 pierce armor in the Imperial Age. Melee attack upgrades are free. University techs cost 50% less. The TC supports 15 population. So I think in the base game it's 5, right? So you basically have 2 houses right out of the gate for free with your first TC. The Elite Juggernaut tech is free. The unique unit, the Agitaspidae, is their infantry, which, let's scroll over. It's a Macedonian unique spearman with increased attack range, strong versus cavalry and infantry. So I believe that these guys are kind of like the Incan, what is it?
Kameyuk.
The Kameyuk, except it's a lot better. It's like more heavily armored, and isn't it a little slower? I think, but much better armored and better attack, and just all around kind of a stronger unit, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. So that's the Agiraspide. The unique text, the Heteroi. The stable units have +20 HP, and Cav unit knights are immune to conversion. The Pezeteroi, infantry, +20 HP, Agiraspide are immune to conversion. Combined arms tactics. Siege units move 40% faster, or Diadochi. Slightly weaker elite immortals, elite Medjay warriors, and elite hoplites can be trained at the town center. So this is another one of those mercenary core texts that we've been looking at.
Yep.
Team bonus, towers and outposts, +3 line of sight. BP, why don't you go ahead and lead us on this one? What do you think about this Civ and how strong they are?
S tier for me.
Mm.
No, this was the my first introduction to you was the cast you did on our free for all, and I was the Macedonians.
Mm-hmm.
This is my favorite Civ of the mod. They have all sorts of options. They do all the options well. They don't have an eco to help them with that, but I think they make up for it very well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I just think they're so versatile. They're not on Athenian level where they're versatile and have eco to help them, but um, yeah, I mean, without getting too into the weeds with it, they have decent infantry. They have archer, fully upgraded archers if you want to do that.
Okay.
Skirmishers, heavy cav archer, missing Parthian tactics, husbandry, but like that's an option. I don't think I would go for them with that. barrack units they have full blacksmith, so that's helpful.
Mhm.
And then you get the barracks and stables +1 pierce armor. Um, but that applies in Imperial Age, so they don't get many Imperial Age upgrades for their stables, so it may not play in as much, but their auxiliary spearmen would be a lot more resistant. They take like that adds up. Just one pierce armor, that they'll take a lot
Mhm.
more punishment from ranged units.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know, like university being cheaper, that can kind of go unnoticed. It's like, oh, I was able to pick up masonry for dirt cheap. All of a sudden, like he's having a hard time pushing
Yeah.
into my base. Ballistics, huge, very important tech. You get that very easily with it being 50% cheaper.
Right.
Heteroi, like I've used them a few times. I've tried different tactics. I don't think I've been able to. I haven't like, what would it be? Fleshed them out as much as they could be, but
Mhm.
they're strong on all maps. Heteroi can really punish somebody if they're thinking to use monks against your cavemen.
Right.
It's an extra bloodlines on top of getting bloodlines.
Yeah.
Combined arms tactics, very fun. With the full siege workshop, you get the super fast siege. Diadochi is where it's a little more interesting. I've tried it a couple times, but the game's usually in too quick for me to make a strong opinion on it. When it says slightly weaker for all three of those, Conqueror says their selling points are weaker, so I think that just means bonus damage.
Okay.
Immortals are good against archers, Medjays against infantry, hoplites against cavemen.
Right.
So you can make all those at your town center to help you in any way, like whatever you're going against. It's like, okay, I have an answer to that, and you
Mhm.
get all the elite upgrades for free, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, but their bonus damage is going to be a little weaker.
Interesting.
I think they're high A tier with no eco, but they can handle anything and they can do it in a strong way.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, if I remember right, there was an old version of the mod where one of these bonuses made I think it was like their units generally were immune to conversion or something. And I just remember the point was, I don't think Conqueror realized it, but he kind of made it to where the siege units were immune to conversion. I was like, wait a minute, this is definitely like S plus tier. No way, this is too much. So I think they've been nerfed a little bit since I last looked at this Civ. I agree with you. I think that the lack of an early eco bonus, you do get the extra, the extra population space out of your town centers, which is really nice. But other than that, you don't really get an early eco bonus, so
Yep.
they're kind of slow to get rolling. So that's going to keep them out of S for me. But they have strength and flexibility, and when you've got that combination, this makes them a very strong Civ. I also got a, again, hat tip to Diadochi, which is really cool because that is reflecting the split of Alexander's empire. And so the Immortals, the Medjay, and the Hoplites are referencing the Seleucid and the Ptolemaic dynasty, and obviously Greece itself, as three of the four splits. That's pretty cool historically. I like that. Although, like you mentioned, I don't know how useful that is. I'm not saying it's not useful. I'm saying I don't know how useful it will be for them. You do get elite, unique units right out of the gate, so maybe it is really cool. Combined arms tactics is also really nice. I like the extra HP in the Castle Age. You pick your strat, you get more HP, and you don't have to worry about monks for that chosen unit. They're strong. I agree. I think high A makes a lot of sense. Next up, the Numidians, which are very similar to the Berbers. Vills move 10% faster. Stable units cost less through the ages. You start the game with an additional 2 goats. You have I want to call them the Amazing. The Amazi. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Let's scroll over here. The Amazai. There we go. The Numidian fast cav unit with bonuses against siege and villagers. So This is not a Berber Camel Archer. This is a different unique unit. You do, however, do bonus damage against siege, bonus damage to vills. Collect resources when attacking vills. Oh, so this is just a great raider unit. Okay. All right. And I'm wondering, it almost reminds me a little bit of the what do you call them? The Magyar Hussar, except he does cost gold. So I'm suspecting, without even looking at the numbers, I'm suspecting that this is a more fragile unit, kind of more parallel to a scout cav than a knight. But
Very.
yeah, but with these bonuses in their situations where if they get into the eco and raid, it's going to be devastating, right? Let's see. Oh, and you have, wait a minute, the Amazi Raider is a cav archer. Where do we see him? Or her? Or
I don't think it shows up on this tech tree because that's also made at the fort.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So it's an archer version of the same unit?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I think it's a little expensive in the gold.
Yeah.
But it's also a fragile unit.
Okay. Cool. Our unique techs. Numidian Javelineer. Skirmishers move 10% faster and have +1 range. Fogaras. Mills collect 20% of food from nearby farms when completed. Okay, so kind of the full work bonus wrapped up into the mill if you pick up that tech. So you either get more food, which you can, it's kind of more flexible bonus, or you upgrade your skirmishers. Good for a trash war, good if you're dealing with archers. But if you're playing heavy into cav, are you really going to run archers a lot? I guess it's possible. Maghrebi camels. Camel units regenerate, or I'm sure that's a typo. Numidian raiders. Imazigan scout cav and Imazigan raiders +2 pierce armor. Imazigan are more effective. They're already effective against vills. Now they're even more effective. So this is going to make them an absolute monster if they get into the eco. Interesting. And then the team bonus, all Imazigan raiders can be trained at the fort for everybody. Interesting. Very interesting. So I'm a little bit in the dark on the Amazi Raider. I'm guessing it's just a ranged version of the Amazi, however you pronounce him.
I think Imazigan is the plural, but they keep switching back and forth. You can see the actual name is Amazigh, so I don't know what it is, the deal with that.
Yeah. I'll leave somebody in the comments to come in and say, actually, this is how you pronounce it, and I have to them. Excuse me. So vills move faster. This is just a really nice bonus. Stable units costing less. I mean, these are really strong combos. Starting with 2 goats is also really nice. Starting with extra food as a cav civ. That's nice. That is nice. Now, fortunately, you don't get this bonus until the Middle Antiquity Age, so it's not going to overwhelm you. The stable discount will not overwhelm you as far as Scout Rush goes. They don't really have that going for them, which is great. But still, it's a really solid set of bonuses. The Amazi Raider, really cool unit. Very devastating if you don't wall up against that. I don't know. It seems like a solid civ, but nothing that I think is overwhelming. For me, there's nothing that I find really that exciting. I mean, they're cool, but they're not that cool. So I'm kind of thinking maybe. I mean, it's all baked into the cake of this one bonus right here. Stable units cost 50% less in the Castle Age, 20% in Imperial. So, maybe I'm gonna say B. What do you think? I feel like these guys are kind of similar to the Huns, where the Huns are strong, but I'm not seeing anything jumping out at me and going, this is just the thing that's devastatingly good. So I'm gonna say B. What do you think?
I agree. I think low B. I mean, they have somewhat of an eco, but they don't have like a beefy option, which I try to look for to balance out what they have. I think one thing, and I've mentioned it out in the Doomed World, who's also seems to be a very history-oriented guy. He agrees they should probably get Camel Archer. McGrebby Camels. I mean, you're missing the last cav armor, so why would you get regenerating camels that are now going to be missing that armor instead of helping your scout cav that's cheaper, and by giving it the +2 pierce armor that you would need really, as well as your raiders if you're going to try to raid eco. I think very stable focused, very predictable. They don't do any other things super well. Like no Imperial Siege. University's decent, but yeah, I just think the Raider, the Amazigh, and the Amazigh Raider, they're very fragile units. They're somewhat expensive for them being that fragile. I think the Raider actually has like 45 HP, so you get bloodlines.
Wow.
It only has 65 HP.
Yeah,
which isn't great. I just don't think they're strong enough, even on an open map. Like they could do the cheap cav rush well, like flood some cavalry, and the Fogaras basically turns their mills into full works. Actually, even stronger, I think. Well, yeah, 20%.
I wonder if that's overkill.
That's way stronger.
I mean, you've already got the cheaper stable units, and then you've got the full work mills on top of that. That's a lot of food. I will say that it is a lot of food.
It is a lot of food, so they could end a game with a massive flood, but they fall off pretty quick after that. I think missing the last armor is very important, and if you want to make up for it, you don't make up for it with your heavy cavalrymen, just your weaker units, and you would have to have a fort up, and then you would have to pay for that tech as well.
Yeah. I'm noticing they've got the champion line. I almost wonder if you pick up Fogaras, and then you've been playing with Cav the whole time. You make a tech switch over to champion and just surprise mow somebody down with infantry.
That
maybe
could be
that's
a play.
an option.
Missing the last armor, you don't want to do that. You'd want to be the killing move. Maybe just have an absolute flood of them.
Right. All right. Interesting. Next up, Parthians. This is the Cav Archer Civ. Fortunately, Parthians get Parthian tactics. That would just be a shame otherwise. They are a Cav Civ. Marksmanship and Parthian tactics are free. Good. So what is this is basically right now we're looking at a Tatar bonus. Cav archers train faster through the ages. Vils cost less through the ages. So half Persians, half Tatar here. Their unique unit is the Griv Panvar, which I'm definitely pronouncing wrong. But let's see. It is a unique heavy cavalry with an attack that pierces through enemies. So a mounted Kamayuk. Strong versus infantry, weak versus archers and spearmen. Okay, cool. Do you know if you're playing Parthians, like, is there any point in going the Knight line? Is this just a better unit?
You have full upgrade. Well, you're missing Blast Furnace. You do have full upgrade Knight line. The Griv Panvar, it's actually, just to correct you, it's the Gulam bonus, so piercing through targets instead of extra range. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Okay,
they have a high bonus against infantry, though, high melee armor, and the piercing, so they're just a way better boyar, basically.
Okay.
Then you get the Nissian horse breeding. These are quite the beefy unit. If you can get a couple forts up, you would definitely want to go for this over your Knight line.
And I already know in AoE2, the boyar typically considered just better than knights. Like if you can choose, pick boyar over knights.
If you can do it, yep.
So yeah, so here, if this is a better boyar, then that answers that question. So, all right, we got a really amazing unique unit. Prioritize them. Unique text. Hornbow. Cav archers have +1 range and fire with less of a delay. Wow. Your cav archers are going to be insane. Camelry Corps. Camel archers enabled at the archery range. Nicaean horse breeding. Griv, Panvar, and Cav archers have +30 HP and +1 attack. Or Sagittari mercenaries. Cav archers +3 attack and then move 15% slower. Wow. So, okay, this is just the Cav Archer Civ. They seem really strong. You don't get an eco bonus other than the Vil discount, which it does add up over time. Military protection buildings plus 1 life sight per age. Okay, that is what it is. They have disgustingly strong cav archers, and you've got a very strong, heavily armored cav unit as well. I wonder if it's like just the speed 1.35, speed of 1.3. Okay, basically the same movement speed. Wow. I guess maybe the only problem with the Parthians, the only thing keeping them in check, is that they're so predictable. That, I mean, you're cav archer and knights or grivpavar. That's your unit. That's everything you got. Your barracks line is not that great, right? You get cut off at broadswordsmen. Your archers, you're missing the final archer upgrade. You're missing the final attack. Now that helps. You've only got bodkin arrows. And you're missing bracer. That cuts down some on the oppression that is cav archer, but that's made up for with hornbow and firing with less of a delay. The thing that scares me about that is, cav archers are the unit where if you're really good with micro, if you have that pro level skill, cav archers make the most out of that, and firing with less of a delay makes them even better than they already are. That's really strong. Or you can pick up camel archers, which helps them against knights. But do you really need that help if you've got... Well, they're weak versus archers and spearmen, the grivpavar. Okay, how do grivpavar do versus knights, I wonder? Because if you're able to mass these units, they've got pierce damage, they're probably hitting multiple knights at the same time. I just worry that if these guys are good anti-cav options, and then you've got the cav archers for everything else, right? Then... I'm just worried about them being too strong with their single strat. Help me out here. What do you think about the Parthians? Where would you place these guys? What's your view of them?
Definitely A tier, but like you said, they don't have much eco to help them out there. I know I say Macedonians are high A tier, though. They could probably be a little lower. Parthians, they can be oppressive with the cav archer play, as you said, that you could even do a nice little archer into crossbowman or improved bowman and castlage, get that free marksmanship. But then you're really relying on the fort to make up for missing bracer, missing blast furnace. The grivpavar misses an extra pierce armor compared to the knight line, so archers will do better against that. Skirmishers can fight well against the heavy cav archer, and the heavy cav archer isn't getting any more range than like the Armenians get because they miss bracer. Right. And then you have to get hornbow if you're going to make up for that. Cavalry corps, I think, is not I would almost never go for that, just because then you're missing bracer. So you decided to go with less range for your other cav archers. I don't know if I would ever use the cavalry corps. And then we had a comment from one of the higher level players in our clan Discord saying he thinks Sagittari moving 15% slower would actually be a huge detriment to the point of cav archers. But because they're gaining +3 attack, and then you have made up for the range with hornbow, so you're getting extra 2 attack for cav archers, which I don't think any other civ can do. Yeah. It'd remain to be seen if that is oppressive or not, but I think they're A tier. I think they're predictable. Like you said, grivpavar is a great unit. It's 5 more gold than a knight, but it trains slow for a castle unit, which you have to think about. Knights, you're going to have more stables up. Just depends on what you want to go for, but I think they can be beat back by maybe a strong infantry civ with a little bit of skirmisher help. Grivpavars will still lose to auxiliary spearmen like a knight. That high melee armor is not going to help them against that. I think they're good. Just a good A tier civ.
Yeah, good. I agree with you. I've decided to put them in A. I think you're right. I think they have some vulnerabilities early on, and you better take advantage of them because, boy, if you let those cav archers get rolling, I don't know. It seems like Because with all the extra range that you can pick up, the attack damage you can pick up, I don't know that you could even go onagers into these guys. And that means that your only options are skirmishers, and skirmishers just get blown up by everything that's not archer. So, I don't know. They seem very, very good. Next up, Persians. Start the game with 50 food and 50 wood. Town centers and the ports work faster through the ages. This is the port, which is the military. No, this is the
that's
the
eco
civilian.
one.
Yeah, the
Yep.
eco. Okay, all right. So the port and the town center work faster, but that no longer. So a little bit of a nerf here. Excuse me. That does not include the shipyard. So Persians are probably not as effective in fighting on water as they were before, unless they've got something in their back pocket that we haven't seen yet. Cav archers fire 25% faster, and warships require 10% less population space. Okay, so you got a different kind of water bonus that helps you in the long run. They can be pretty good in a post-imperial naval war, but nothing that really helps them out early on, it seems like. Their unique unit is the Immortal. Great choice. If you're in the classical era, you definitely want to go with the Immortal. Their unique infantry, it heals slowly. Strong versus infantry and archers. Weak versus cavalry. I remember reading that one of the funny things about the Immortal is they actually got their name because there were so many of them that if you slayed one, there was somebody else ready to take his spot right away.
Yep.
And so it's kind of the opposite of what we would typically think of. The Immortal, he can never die. It's more like, no, he dies, but it's just somebody else is ready to replace him so quickly that it's as if you did nothing at all. Wait a minute. Interesting. I did not realize these are different descriptions. Slowly, says a little typo there. Anyway, so the Immortal, okay, it's an infantry unit that heals. Go ahead and help me out. How does this compare to just your typical swordsman? Like, would you really want to go Immortal instead of focusing in on your swordsman line?
I think it would be a good option. Yeah, they build 8 seconds, so that is almost a what would the math be for that? Swordsmen take 3 times longer almost to build.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They are super cheap, probably one of the cheapest gold units in the game for Rome at War. They have high pierce armor, and they have a bonus against archers. So it is a very, I'd say it's a very useful unit if you're trying to mass them up.
Yeah.
It is it's not just like some what would it be? The Malay unique unit.
Yeah, the Karambit.
It's not a meme like that. I think those are just too weak.
Yeah.
Immortal can actually be pretty helpful for how cheap it is.
Nice. Okay. All right, cool. So they're a pretty unique unit. The unique text, Commander and the Archer Line. Gold cost replaced by additional woods, just like in the base game. Or satrapies. Villagers work 40% faster near town centers. And then
I'll say real quick,
yeah,
that has been nerfed down significantly. It originally was 15%. No, Conqueror said nobody used it. I want to see it used. He buffed it up, and a couple of us played with it. It was insane how much. Like I was just messing around with people with how much eco I had going around the town centers. So he is now taking it after a couple games, testing out different stuff. He's taking it down to 10%.
Okay.
But it's still a very helpful tech.
Interesting. Huh. And then we've got Scythe Chariots. Chariots deal +4 damage to infantry. Gain an area of effect attack. Versus Treasures of Babylon. Relics also generate stone. Oh, that's cool. That's kind of cool. Okay. Persians in AoE2, they're a pretty, assuming you're not doing some kind of TC drop play, right? The Persians are pretty interesting all-around civ. I mean, they're pretty straightforward. You do a lot of things with them. They are considered more of a cav civ, but then you have, and their one really cool thing is satrapies, or I'm sorry, commanderan, which they do still get. So this seems a little bit more like an adaptation or a mini rework rather than a total overhaul. A lot that's the same. The warships requiring less pop space is nice. It's kind of an imperial thing. The Immortal unique unit sounds really cool, especially because that means that what you can do is early on you pick some other strategy. You go archers, you go knights, And then once you've positioned your opponent into that spot where an infantry horde would just really hammer him good, you can just pump out immortals right away. I like the rope-a-dope that move can pull there. So that's pretty cool. The unique techs, I'll take your word on satrapies. I was originally going to say, like, how useful is this? Because it seems like it would only affect a certain number of farmers, eventually, and that's all. But 40% apparently, that means a lot of resources. That got
The
knocked down
range
to
was
10.
pretty big on it. He showed me a
Okay.
test he did. He can adjust the range, but I think he's left it the same.
Okay.
I think it encompasses three or four farms out from a TC, so it's a pretty
Oh,
big
wow.
range, and it
Okay,
applies
yeah.
to all resource gathering around a
Yeah.
TC.
Okay, wow. At that point, then I definitely understand. That is really strong. And if you're not going to go archers, then picking up satrapies, makes a lot of sense. And just being able to, I guess the thing is too with the regular Persians, the archer play is really nice because you're going to focus it on cavalry, or you go war elephant, and the spearmen are predictable, or the monks are predictable. And being able to have those ranged archers is really great. And being able to not have to spend any gold to get the archers out is really awesome, especially in an imperial war situation. That's great. And that's still nice, but now that you have the immortal as a choice instead, as your anti-spearman, anti-monk option, then it's not as useful to have the goldless archers. And because they're so cost effective, you can even use them in a trash situation. So yeah, satrapy seems really good. Scythe chariots. Chariots dealing +4 damage to infantry, getting an area of effect attack. It's pretty nice. You get to choose between chariots or knights. Now, would you ever really want to pick both of these, or do you just go one or the other? Like, when would you go chariots if you've got knights?
That is a good question. It depends on your resource distribution, I would say.
Right.
The area of effect is no joke, I'll say. I tested that out in a couple videos, and Conqueror ended up having to nerf it slightly. I don't know. When you have full upgrade knights, they're a little cheaper. Chariots are a very expensive unit. You'd probably just go Knightline anyways.
My assumption is you go Knightline by default, but if you're not interested in more stone, and you're dealing with an opponent who's bringing a lot of infantry, and you didn't pick up Commanderand, then developing your chariot as an anti-infantry option kind of gives it a point, and you could mix it in along with the cavalry. You've already got the blacksmith because you've been going heavy into knights. I guess I could see the play there. Okay, they seem decent. I don't think there's anything that screams, OP or really strong to me. You're missing Bracer. You're missing the final infantry armor upgrade, which will help make your immortals kind of the spam unit that they are. I'm gonna say B tier. I think, especially with satrapies kind of having been nerfed some, it seems like they've got a good eco. They've got a wide-ranging tech tree, but nothing that I think is. You got faster firing Cav Archers, which is nice, and Cav Archer would be a really good. I haven't even talked about the Cav Archers a lot, but I think that's a really strong choice for the Persians. As well, it should be. But I'm gonna say B. What do you think?
It's hard to say. I mean, when comparing them to the other civs for Roman War, yes, the fast flying Cav Archers are pretty nice. They do miss Bracer. But I saw one game where it was just so oppressive that the other guy couldn't fight back. He was trying to do Cav Archers as well, and he couldn't win the engagements. It's hard to say. I don't want to put so many things in A, like you're saying. We got to have a good mix.
Right.
But yeah, they have a lot of options. They're versatile, and they have a bit of eco to back it up, as well as end game strong options. They're missing Siege Ram, Siege Onager, but that Siege Onager almost never comes into play. 1v1 team games, doubtful. You want to go for Trebuchet or the heavy Siege Onager, basically, especially because it's better than a Trebuchet in this mod.
Right.
I would still say they're A tier. They have options. They have eco to help it. and they can end the game with a Imperial Age fully upgraded unit.
Cool. Very cool. All right. That brings us down to our final 5. Let's knock them out real quick. Next up, we've got the Phoenicians. They are a naval civ, and that's kind of their thing. Commodity trading fee is 5%, which is the commodity trading. That's when you're trading resources between teammates, right? So useless in a one-on-one, but that could be useful, very useful for team games. The market costs 100 less wood. Ships cost less through the ages. Land units cost 25% less gold. Demo ships upgrade instantly upon reaching the next age. Their unique unit is the Bailaric Slinger, an archer unit, which I think you mentioned before. They generate gold and strong versus buildings, which is pretty cool. Would you say that, assuming you're just trying to knock down some walls and some buildings, would you say that you don't really need siege units if you got the Bailaric Slinger?
It depends how much you mess up. I've used them a couple times now. It's hard to quantify without testing more. I don't know. I don't even know how much they do against walls, or if the building bonus damage counts as walls. I don't know. If you have a good group, it can really surprise somebody. It's like, oh, this little dude with a sling is tearing my house down, and now he's about to send some cavalry in or something.
Okay, good. And would you say, would you pick the Slinger over just the regular archer? I mean, is that just a better unit than the default archer?
It depends what you're facing. They have a bonus against infantry, so
Okay.
well, actually super high range. I forgot about that. 8 range is no joke. I would say they're better than an archer for sure. They both units benefit from it costing less gold, but you have to have a fort up to make them. That's always the trade-off.
Right. Okay. So units cost less gold. You got this really strong archer unit in the barracks. In the barracks, in the castle, the fort. Demo ships upgrade instantly upon reaching the next stage. That's kind of an interesting bonus, and I almost want to give a hat tip to Conquer for even putting that in, or the designers, the Roman War devs for putting that in, because you take all this time to completely overhaul the naval side of the game, and you add in all these extra units, and one of the complaints from the old game was that demo ships just kind of, you don't really want to go demo ships. So I like that they haven't forgotten about the demo ship, but that they they have the automatic upgrades. Maybe they'll see more use in Rome at War, and with that bonus, that's kind of nice. It helps you get control of the water if you don't have it initially. So that's kind of cool. Yep. I like that. Unique text: Thalassocracy. Upgrade your shipyards to harbors. Isn't that the Malay who get that bonus? Cedars of Lebanon. Yes, this is my suggestion here. Lumberjacks slowly generate gold in addition to wood. I love the historical nods here. And then you have a pick between Tyrian dye and Sidonian glass. Town centers slowly generate gold or stone. These guys are interesting to me. So I know Conquer and I actually talked a little bit about this Civ when just some of the design ideas, and the Phoenicians were known for their use of mercenaries. I'm actually surprised they don't have like a mercenary corps kind of thing, because that was the thing. They paid for armies. They didn't really have a standing army in the way that other civilizations at the time did. Insofar as we talk about a standing army, I mean, you know what I mean. So the Phoenicians, they were all about buying out their armies and kind of having a mercenary army. And so land units costing less gold makes a lot of sense. I think it's a nod to that. So it's kind of neat. They are obviously a decent naval civ. But I'm actually going to say, because we got to spread the love around anyway, in the tier list. For me, their bonuses are mostly naval. Let's assume this is Arabia for a second. You got the Bailaric Slinger, which is apparently a pretty nice archer unit. Although it's weak to cav, so I don't know. Maybe the regular archer's better at dealing with knights. I don't know. But the Bailaric Slinger, a pretty nice unique unit. But other than that, and yeah, your units cost a little less gold, kind of like a Portuguese sort of bonus. But other than that, let's say the ports as a point of comparison. The Portuguese have needed to get buffed, and they got buffed recently with their berry bush bonus. And that has really helped them out on land maps. So the Phoenicians don't have that. I think their early game looks kind of weak. The gold bonus by itself is not an awful lot. None of these other bonuses help on a land map. So you're probably in a lot of trouble if you can't get to your slinger. And if you can, well, that's your only power unit. You have flexibility, but you don't really have anything helping you other than that. And then in the late game, well, let me back up. On the water, you have, in the Iron Age and then the Early Antiquity Age, all of your ships costing 10% less in the Early Antiquity Age. That helps a little bit to get early map control. But that's it. So I don't think, even on the water, I would be concerned that momentum would swing against you too early. I'm assuming a 1v1. I think momentum would swing against you too early, and you would then not be able to take advantage of, you throw down a shipyard in order to get those demo ships up to sort of reclaim control. You wouldn't be able to pick up the thalassocracy tech and actually take advantage of that. You've got some really cool eco techs between Cedars of Lebanon, Tyrian Dye, and Sidonian Glass. I really do love those techs, and I appreciate the Phoenicians should be an eco-focused civ, but I think that they're like the Portuguese before them, or the Malay for that matter, which are also a weaker civ in AoE2 base game. I think the Phoenicians are missing something in the early game to really help them out. For me, my read, based on my experience in AoE2, I would put them in C tier, maybe even D tier. If I had to put anyone into D tier, I think I put the Phoenicians in there. What do you think? Please, by all means, tell me where I'm wrong.
No, I think C tier is interesting. If we're looking at overall, like, yeah, you have some very good justification. I will say they are one of the top naval civs. There's 4 or 5 civs in the mod that can really do the Navy well, and they're one of them. But yeah, like I say, they don't have a beef option. They don't have something on land that's really gonna punish somebody. The slingers are not that great. They're like a hand cannon with half the base attack of a hand cannon, bonus against buildings instead. I've played them a couple times. Like, if you can get a fort up, if you can get those eco techs, it's nice. But if you may have like this booming economy, like, oh great, all these resources, but I can't make a unit that's actually gonna kill anything. Well, besides like fully upgraded archers. That's about it. Yeah, C tier may be reasonable. I would, if not, low B.
Okay.
I think just about every other civ could have a strong option that they can't deal with.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good to me. I'll go and leave them in C. I think to the credit of the mod team, I don't think there's any civ that really belongs in D. I don't think there's anybody that's just a terribly designed or just the worst or whatever. So I think the worst we're seeing are civs where there are just some weaknesses that mean that they're not as strong as the others. But everybody, they're all very thematic, very well designed. So yeah, I just do think that the Phoenicians need something on land, something on land and something early game to just kind of help them out a little bit. I don't know what that is, but something. That might be another video. We'll see. The Roman Empire. And infantry. So here we go. Finally, the namesakes. We've got our Romes, the true wielders of the legionaries here. Starting with the Empire first, which is weird to me. I want to start with the Republic, chronologically, but alphabetically, the Empire comes first. They're an infantry and siege civ. Capped Ram and Onager are available in the Middle Antiquity Age. Scout Cav, Skirmishers, Spearmen cost 20% less, so those are your trash units, costing 20% less. Legionaries train 25% faster through the ages, through the Middle and Imperial Age. Legionaries get +1 pierce armor in the Middle Antiquity and Imperial Age. And advancing to the next age is 33% faster. We've got the Praetorian Prefect, which is their Cav unit, unique unit. It is a Roman Imperial unique heavy cav with a small bonus against other cavalry. Strong versus infantry and cav. weak versus archers and spearmen. Okay. And then, of course, they do have the legionary as well as their unique unit. You've got, as their unique tech, Siege Ballistae. Scorpions have +1 range and no minimum range. Fire 5% slower. Or the Castra Network. Force costs 25% less and build 50% faster. Pax Romana. Villagers and trade units take up 25% less pop space. Or Diocletian Reforms. Infantry slowly heal when near forts. The team bonus is Scorpions have +1 attack. So, I really enjoy this Civ thematically. I love the focus on the Ballista, which are excuse me, which are the Scorpions. They have extra attack. If you tech into them, they get +1 range and no minimum range. That's really cool. They were OP before the 5% slower fire rate. They were very, very strong. I still like playing with Scorpions. I think they're underused in general, and the fact that the Empire get to go pretty heavily into them is really nice. You do, of course, get the Legionary, a very strong, unique unit, an infantry unit that has a ranged function, which is pretty cool. They get some good melee and pierce armor. Pretty cool. I like how their trash units all cost 20% less. Now, that means that they actually have a pretty decent scout rush, because their scouts cost 20% less. Yeah, they seem to be pretty well-rounded all around. I think nothing seems to me to be over the top. Possibly the Scorpions are very strong once you get them rolling. I think they're pretty strong, but nothing that seems to me to be over the top. Like, again, I think my S-rank list, they might be too good. I think that the Roman Empire is not necessarily too good, but they seem really good. If anything, I would just maybe complain that Diocletian Reforms seems to me to be pretty weak in comparison to Pax Romana. I don't know why you'd ever pick up Diocletian Reforms when Pax Romana is just that much better. I guess maybe it depends on, maybe if it were infantry, quickly heal when near forts. Okay, you could I could see you kind of some micro sort of thing. You go in, you fight, you pull back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But yeah, I'm gonna say solid A. I think that they're good all around Civ. They got some really nice bonuses with the Legionaries, and they just seem decently good. They're great in a post-imperial trash war situation. They've got really great Scorpions, but other than that, they're just flexible. What do you think?
So, my opinion is they would be very close to S tier, but they're missing any eco bonus.
Right.
Obviously, I just think the cheap trash. They have cheap trash that's also fully upgraded. You could do a Castle Age ram rush with capped ram getting early on, and you have cheaper spearmen to back it up. You could even have some legionaries tossed in there that have a free pierce armor and train a little faster. Advancing the next stage is faster. I guess that's kind of an eco bonus if you do that properly. It's hard to remember that sometimes. I like catch myself off guard, and maybe to my detriment, it's like, oh,
Right.
I'm up early and I don't have enough resources yet. But I think when you do it properly, like with melee, it's like having an extra couple villagers compared to a generic Civ. Pax Romana is actually very strong. I agree. I don't know if I would ever go Diocletian over that. If you get to that stage in the game, I believe I requested Conqueror to test it when we were also looking at Satrapies, and I believe it was similar to Satrapies in their buffed state. So it's a strong eco option in the end game. It's not early game, so they don't have any bonuses there. Both their Castle Age techs obviously are good, like you said. I think they're a very good A tier. Probably not S when they don't have an early game eco bonus, like you said, but similar to Byzantines, anything you throw at them, they can probably counter it with relative ease, having the cheap trash and strong military options. The unique unit is the second most expensive unit in Rome at War outside the War Elephant, not including ships. I think it's too expensive. It It does better against, and you'll see it with the Roman Republic with their unit. It does better against anti-cav.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a surprise factor, a better knight against camels and spears. But it's so expensive. Um, if you go to late game, maybe you want to go into that elite prefect over since you
Hmm.
don't get Imperial cavalrymen.
Right.
Yeah, I think strong A though.
Yep. Sounds good. Sounds good. Now we get to take a look at their forebears, the Roman Republic. Advancing to the next age costs 20% less. Text research 50% faster. Town watch and town patrol are free. Infantry get +1 attack per age, starting in the early antiquity age. I wonder if that includes the legionary in its ranged form.
It does not. No.
Okay. And then shipyards work 25% faster. So interesting. The Republic will probably do better on water, I'm guessing, than the Empire, which is interesting. The Praetorian Guard and the Legionary are the unique units. The Praetorian Guard, let's take a look at him. He is a Republican heavy infantry unit. Strong versus infantry, weak versus archers. Yet again, another one of these units where I'm guessing you actually have 3 options because you still have your militia line, but then now you got your Legionary, and now you've got your Praetorian Guard. And I'm going to guess that by design, the Guard is supposed to be this anti-infantry infantry, and if you're not dealing with an infantry force of your own, then just go Legionaries or, regular militia line. I worry that when we got 3 units, kind of like the Vietnamese, where you've got, you got the archer and the Rattan archer and the, no, because that's
Imperial skirm.
Yeah, but even this is even different because it's 3 units who are all kind of vying for the same role in your army. I don't, unless I'm missing something, and I might. I have not dived deep into the numbers or the experience, but to me it seems like these 3 units are all kind of doing the same thing, and so you'd end up just picking one. You do have a bonus for your legionaries, if I'm not mistaken. You can pick up. I guess Testudo helps both your legionaries and your Praetorian Guard. So I'm guessing you probably don't want to go with your broadswordsmen in the long run, unless you just want to mass them up. That's their only function. But they don't even get supplies. Okay, don't go swordsmen. That line is useless. They might as well not have swordsmen.
Yeah, you're pushed towards legionaries for sure.
Yeah. So legionaries are your choice, or the Praetorian Guard, which I'm guess is weaker all around, but then maybe better as an anti-infantry choice, right?
No, it's a beefy boy. It's a strong infantry. It's slow though. You may not have seen. It's got 0.85 speed, which is pretty slow. It has infantry armor though, so Medjay warriors. What else has bonus against infantry? Chariots, a couple things like that. Like it'll take less bonus damage.
Okay.
But it is a slow guy.
Interesting. Huh. All right. So in that case, maybe you'd rather do the Praetorian Guard and just forget the Legionary. Kind of a Teutonic Knight, I guess, sort of situation, where the Legionary is faster, a little bit more flexible. Otherwise, but if you need a defensive unit to hold the line, then you go with the Praetorian Guard. Is that maybe more accurate?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So, unique text, we can either pick up +1 melee, +1 pierce armor for our legionaries, all of our foot archers, including skirmishers, and our Praetorian Guards. Or we do Corvus, boarding ships. Get +1 range, and then additional armor. So, if you're fighting on the water, go Corvus. Otherwise, go Testudo. That's an easy pick. In the Imperial Age, Marian reforms. Legionaries cost 25% less and train 20% faster. Or Principate. Can train 5 free Praetorian Guards per fort. Elite Praetorian Guards enabled at the town center. Okay. So you definitely... So, even in the design of the Civ, you're sort of forced in this interesting dilemma. Do you choose your Legionaries or you choose your Praetorian Guards? You pick one. All right, that's kind of cool. You're definitely an infantry Civ for sure. Your archers, let's see. You get composite bowmen. You get marksmanship. You do get the Testudo bonus. And you get ballistics. You're missing the final attack upgrade, but you got all the armor. Okay. Decent choices there. So archers don't look bad. Maybe they fall off a little in the Imperial Age, but they're not bad. Cav, you get all the way up to Imperial Cavalrymen. You get husbandry and bloodlines. You have a full blacksmith tech. So cavalry seem pretty good. I don't see any civ bonuses, but they seem fully upgraded. Scorpions fire 50% faster is the team bonus. If the Empire and the Republic teamed up and just built a lot of ballista, that'd be nasty. Yeah, in a 1v1 situation, these guys seem decent. Probably not. Let me compare this real quick. I don't think they seem as strong as the Empire. I think that the Legionary, Praetorian Guard combo seems predictable. So you go archers against them, and the rest of what you've got is decent. You're flexible, but the bonuses seem to be more prioritized toward infantry. So you just counter infantry, and you've taken away most of their bonuses. So I'm gonna say low A, maybe even B. Put it in B tier, probably. What do you think?
I think if we're gonna put Empire in A tier, a couple of the others, B might be fine for them. I've played them. They definitely feel strong. If you include water, just that simple shipyards working faster can really help snowball.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it's mainly infantry. It's mainly the legionary. But this is a situation where legionary is pretty good. They miss Bracer at the in Imperial Age, but they'll have 3 extra melee attack. They'll have additional armor, and you can make them cheaper and train faster. So at that point, legionary, like I think I beat Conqueror on Arena going full legionary, and he did not like it.
Wow.
I think that actually, that game he nerfed because before that they had an extra melee and pierce armor, I think. Oh yeah, 2-2, 2-3 on here, so he hasn't changed it yet. They now have 1-1, 2-2, or 1, something like that. The Republic legionaries are no joke, but if you can counter them, they're out of luck. They don't have siege ram. Praetorian Guard's not really that good. Like I would go for Marian reforms over Principate just about any time. So I'd say they're on the more predictable side.
Cool. All right. We've ended with Rome with 2 more left. The Scythians. A cavalry and cav archer civ. Mills replaced with hunting camps, which can produce deer. Now, I just want to clarify, I've not actually played with the Scythians yet. I definitely should boot it up and do that sometime. It works just like a mill normally, right? You can build farms. It does everything the mill does, but it just adds the extra feature of the hunting camp that can produce deer.
Correct.
Which is interesting because I see that the deer cost 30 food and 20 wood.
They now cost 10 wood. I complained to Conqueror. I couldn't get them to work. It's just so expensive, and it takes micro. He knocked that wood down to 10.
Okay. All right. That makes a little more sense to me. Is the idea supposed to be that you lure deer, like you produce, and how quickly do they produce, by the way? Is that pretty fast?
It's fairly slow.
Okay.
I don't know the exact number, but if you don't have several hunting camps set up and you specifically go for it, you would rather just go farms early on.
Is the idea supposed to be that the deer, you build your economy off of deer like throughout the whole game, or is it a late game? I'm sorry, not late game. Like an early game boost that falls off as you're able to kind of upgrade your farms.
Well, you can only upgrade the farms one time. I just
noticed. Yeah, that's okay.
So I think he wants it to be a full game thing, and I actually within the past week and a half, I've been trying to make it work, and he's made some suggestions, made a couple adjustments. I really like the Scythians. I like their idea, but the hunting camps, they're just hard to use, especially for a lower average elo guy like me. It takes micro. You have to remember to queue them up. You'll have to get control groups on your mills because you don't have a select all mills hotkey. And you're spending resources to then get back food. So 30 food, I think so it gives you back 110 food, basically.
Right.
Yep.
Interesting. All right. Well, I've got an off-the-cuff idea, but I'm going to come back to that. I'm not going to throw that in until we finish the review. All right. Milschmutz hunting deer, you can produce deer. Your farms aren't great, but you got the deer here as backup. No buildings required to advance to the next age or unlock other buildings. Town centers can be packed and moved. Another reason why I'm kicking myself that I've never played the Scythians, because that sounds amazing. I want to see what that looks like. What happens? It's like a button on the town center. What happens there?
I can't. Yeah, it's a button that you can do. Town centers. He might. Yeah, he hasn't updated this tech tree. They can also make packed town centers in their town center.
Oh wow. Okay.
Which I think build fairly quickly, but you're not making villagers if you're making that packed town center.
Right.
I have not packed up my original town center and moved it anywhere. I think that would hurt your eco too much, especially on an open map.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It could be a funny meme, like in a 1v1.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I thought his base was over here. I don't even see a town center now. Oh, it's in the corner of the map right above me, and he's about to send a force towards me or something.
I can imagine it might be useful in something like Nomad, when you scout and you realize, hey, I've expired these resources. I need to go over there and get those instead.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah. Okay. The unique unit, the Kurgan-bound chief. It's a cavalry unit, and the Amazon, which is a cav archer. So it's a Scythian unique cav archer with bonus damage against buildings and siege weapons. Strong versus units at range versus weak versus units at close range. So how does this compare? Go ahead and tell me. How does this compare, the Amazon versus the cav archer? Why would I want to go for one or the other?
I haven't gotten to use it as much as I would like, but it's more expensive. Mm-hmm. Think of it as a pseudo wow, I just forgot the name. The Mongols unit.
Oh, the Mangudai.
That everybody loves. Yeah, Mangudai. Think of it as that. It has a small bonus versus siege, but it also has a small bonus versus buildings. You get a good mass, and they have a very low attack delay, you see, compared to cav archers.
Yeah.
Almost a third. You get a good mass of them, they can really do some damage.
So do you think you would typically pair them up? Would you go cav archer and Amazon, or is it typically an either or kind of thing?
It's an either or that I have done. Maybe like a better player could pair them up well. You'd have to get a good control group for them, but it's separate upgrades. They also are very expensive to upgrade, which also costs wood, whereas heavy cav archer, that's food to upgrade them.
Interesting. All right. Let's see. The unique text. Recurve bow. Cav archers plus 25% pierce damage. Does that include the Amazon?
Yep.
Okay. Bog iron weapons. Cav units have plus 20% melee damage, receive 5% more bonus damage. Interesting. So you do more damage, but you're also going to take a little more damage from your counters. So if you're up against a bunch of camels or spears, well, don't take that fight. But if you do, maybe you don't want to pick up bog iron weapons. I don't know. But okay, all around, stronger cav units, recurve bow, stronger pierce damage. Interesting. Then in the Imperial Age, Akinakes, cav units attack 33% faster. Goritos, cav archers fire 50% faster, and then you receive 15% more bonus damage. Huh. Do you know, does the cav units here, does that include cav archer? Or is it just the melee?
For Akinakes, that is just melee.
I would assume so, yeah. So, kind of a theme between both of these in the Castle and the Imperial Age. Do you go for your knights, your cavalrymen, your cav line, or do you go for your cav archer line? Which I assume does include the Amazon. Interesting. The gold miners work a little faster. This is a very hard one to actually rate.
Yep.
Because of the deer situation.
It is very unique, and without looking at their fort techs, it's maybe a little more simple to pick out, but I think just for some reason in my mind, this is one of the more unique civs to look at and rate just because of how powerful they can possibly get if they can survive to the Imperial Age.
Yeah, which is interesting. They do miss out on archer armor. So they miss out on all the armor. They die faster than other
glass
civs.
cannons,
yeah,
for sure.
But they do a lot more damage. Okay. Interesting. All right. Before we move on, though, wait a minute, though. We did not talk about the Kurgan-bound chief. What's his deal? Unique Cav heals nearby mounted military units slightly upon death. Wow. You know what? My hat is off just from an interesting thematic mechanic point of view. This is something that we've not seen in AoE2. A burst of healing upon death. That's really cool. I like it. I want to see that in AoE2. So that's really neat. Now, how useful is it? Do you build an army of nothing but Kurgans? Do you try to mix Kurgans in with your other mounted units? What's the game plan here?
Last game I played with them, I did mix them in with my knights, and I was deciding I was going to go for the knight route instead of cav archer route.
Right.
And I mixed some Kurgan bounds in there. They have lower health, lower melee armor, but very high damage.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also see they have bonus in the advanced stats. They have bonus against archers and infantry, so a little more shock troopy like that. They're a little faster. But you mix them in with some knights. I think it's 7 HP on death. So not that great, but I in some of my testing videos and in actual gameplay, I've seen like you get a few of them die when you're in a mass fight, knight v knight. It's like, oh, all of a sudden my knights are back to full health and they're still swinging. It can really catch people off guard. And it's very nice that they have high pierce armor. Gives them a little more versatility than I'm gonna pay for this thing that's just gonna go die like a demolition ship.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. I imagine it would be a little difficult to manage so that you're actually getting value out of it, because you don't want to. You can't overheal. So, if they die first, then your knights haven't taken any damage. Doesn't really do anything. But if they die last, then all your knights are dead, and so you somehow got to figure it out to where everyone's taking damage equally, and then the Kurgans die, and then you get the heal, and kind of like the demo ships, if your strategy involves losing units, it just gets complex.
Yep. It's very hard to mess with, for sure.
Okay.
As is their mills, so it's a lot more you have to think about can always be a problem.
Yeah. So, all right. These guys seem kind of like earlier. I think I had the who was the other cav archer civ that was I was worried they were going to be like really, really oppressively strong.
It's either Parthians or Armenians, probably.
It was probably the Parthians. This is another civ where I'm thinking, boy, these guys could get overwhelmingly strong with cav archer. I worry. I get antsy about cav archers becoming too good. But they don't have extra range. It's just more damage. They don't really have an eco bonus unless you count the deer. They don't really have an eco bonus. You can move things around, which helps a nomad. I actually
you don't have to make a barracks though.
That's true.
That's like the
that's
thing.
True. Yeah. That is very true. You don't need to make the barracks. What's in my mind is they seem really strong in the late game, but it seems like they're missing a lot in the early game. Like getting there, it seems like they might have some trouble. And then B, it seems like whether we're talking about the deer or we're talking about the Kurgan chief, it seems to require a lot of micro that would make them hard to use. I'm gonna. Oh man, I'm kicking myself here. I could go. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna state my claim. I'm gonna say B, but I could very easily be talked into a strong A. It would not surprise me if they were a really good A civ, but I'm gonna say B. What do you think?
I think I would go with that. Like before I actually played them, I said that looks like A tier, but yeah, like they have a high ceiling. It's just can you get there? I've played games where it's like, all right, I'm getting all my upgrades. I'm getting all my upgrades. Oh, my teammate got utterly decimated. I didn't help enough. Now we just lost. If you can't, and like in 1v1, if you can't get to those upgrades, it's fort techs. It's always that's the Roman War theme when they started doing these 4 unique techs. In the base game, that's kind of hard to get to sometimes if you're not even making a fort, if you're not going stone. Otherwise, they're fairly generic. Besides having an Amazon in the archery range, in doing the deer is hard to micro. if you're an average player, even
Mhm.
less than average, I think B is fun. And on water, they're meh. I don't.
Mhm.
You wouldn't want to pick them on a hybrid or water map. Nomad, I think, might be their best option.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. They seem like they could be a really fun nomad civ. I'd love to try
Yeah.
them out in that environment. All right. I don't want to get off the theme of the video, so I don't know that I will go into my ideas, but I got a couple ideas for the Scythians that could be a lot of fun. I'll go ahead and share them anyway. I'm gonna do it really fast, off the cuff. What I think could be fun is, what if the Scythians, they were not allowed to build farms until the middle antiquity age, but then you gave them some kind of deer bonus. So you got this hunting camp, it can produce deer, and they get more food out of the deer or something. So you're forced into like just a pure hunting economy until you finally get into the third age, and then you can start throwing down farms. And I don't know, I like buffing up the deer but making it your only option, I think could be interesting. And then for the Kurgan, if it's too difficult, if there's a problem with this, I have been contending. What I would love to see in AoE2 is like a Crusader Knight or something. Is an infantry unit that can switch like a Ratha from melee mode into healing mode. And I think like kind of a similar theme that maybe is a little kind of taking advantage of the healing in a way that's maybe a little less micro intensive. You get knights, you get a couple of these chiefs. The chiefs go in, they have their power, but then you can switch them to heal mode, and their attack is just a heal, and they can heal up units like a monk, and you can switch them back and forth. I don't know if that's even possible in the programming, but I think
It might be just because missionary exists. I think, yeah, that sounds like an interesting thing that could be more useful. However, I'll just toss in. I was like, what the heck does Kurgan bound mean? That's the longest
uh-huh.
named unit in the game,
Right.
and I think a Kurgan is some kind of tomb.
Uh-huh.
So it's like this guy is about to go die in battle.
Yeah.
And that might be what his whole deal is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Conqueror would want, if that's
That's
correct.
that's true, and
Yeah.
I do seem to remember in my own video talking about the Scythians that they had a religion that focused in on death and sort of the glory of dying and rising again, or something to that effect. And so I can
Yeah.
see that theme being very important. I wonder if you delete your own unit, does that cause the heal to go off?
For some reason, I haven't thought of that. I haven't tried that out.
Maybe if you like buff the heal, and then you can like build these units as kind of an inverse petard. So you got these weak knights, you bring them back, you bring them to the chief, boom, delete your own chief and just heal up.
Let's see. Do they get herbal medicine though? They do. I never go for that, but yeah. I mean, so many interesting things you can do with them.
Yeah, maybe make them expensive, but then it's like heals way better. I don't. Anyway, all right. So Scythians, I'll keep them in B. Although I actually feel like that could alternate anywhere from an A to a C, because I could see part of me going, this needs a little bit of touch up, or that there's a little bit of a rework could be nice, or some things that could be done. But then also it does seem very strong in the right scenario with the different techs.
Yeah, it is. It's something about them. Like they're so unique in some way, but also they're fairly simple. Like they're all four unique techs are increased damage basically, in some way. Yeah. But they can be very complicated to think about too.
All right, last civ. You know what? I think just for controversy's sake, just for spreading it out a little bit, I'll put Scythians in C, and they might even belong in A, but I'm going to put them in C just to make the graph a little more interesting. Next civ, final civ, the Spartans. They're an infantry civilization. Infantry attack 33% faster starting in the early antiquity age. So what is it? The Japanese bonus there?
Yep.
Barrack techs cost 50% less. Infantry +1 melee armor in the Middle Antiquity and Imperial Ages. Skirmishers +1 pierce armor. Warships, except the boarding ship, +1 ship armor in the Middle Antiquity Age. The unique unit is the Hippeus, which is a Spartan unique heavy hoplite with high pierce armor, but slow speed. Strong versus infantry and buildings, weak versus archers, but with all that pierce armor, that does mean that they are not going to fall quickly to archers anyway. So that's kind of an interesting alternative. Would you say, is the Hippeus a situation where you just want to replace your swordsman even though they have all that melee armor. You just replace swordsmen with Hippeus, or when do you use Hippeus?
That is an excellent question because of how slow they are, and you'll get into their unique text in a second. I don't like they're really good, but it's
just because the base infantry is so good, you don't really want to make that switch.
That you get cheaper barracks upgrades. They're also Hippeus is a little deceptive. They have bonus against mounted units is 2, so they're not actually a good use as a spearman. You'd rather go actual spearman. It's hard to really place them. I won't go too much into it, but yeah, like super high pierce armor, but they're super slow. Like they're gonna die to archers if you don't have enough of them.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Okay. Again, another unit where you're kind of just holding the line and letting something else with more speed, like, kind of get into those archers, I guess.
Yeah, and like you said, it's got more bonus against infantry, so it's another anti-infantry infantry.
Right.
Right. So yeah.
Okay, so their unique techs. Makai, infantry take no bonus damage of any kind. So who does that help with? That helps with the crossbowman. I know the crossbowman does bonus damage versus infantry. We got a bunch of unique units that do bonus damage versus infantry. What else?
Spearmen would not die to skirmishers and cav archers as hard, I believe.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. I like that. Or the Skeuphoroi. Hippeus move 15% faster. Okay, so they're not quite as slow as they otherwise would be. Cryptia. Infantry deal 33% more bonus damage. Or Peloponnesian League, Polyremes +4 attack. The team bonus, blacksmiths work 80% faster. All right, that blacksmith bonus is really nice. Cool team bonus. Spartans. You are all in on infantry if you play Spartans. Kind of like the Republic, right? That's another civ where it's pretty heavily into infantry. This is even more so. You're just going all in on infantry. Archers, you're missing composite bowmen. You do have crossbowmen, but you're missing the composite bowmen. You're missing, oh my goodness, you're missing all the final archer upgrades. So are you missing, you do get marksmanship, so there's that. Do you get ballistics? Yes, you do. Okay. So in the Middle Antiquity Age, it's not terrible, but, it really falls off in the Imperial Age. Cav, you get the Cavalier, the heavy cavalryman, but not the Imperial cavalryman. You are also missing your armor upgrades for your cav and for your infantry. That's a little bit of a surprise. But you get the attack upgrade in the blacksmith. Siege, you're missing heavy scorp, heavy onager. You do get siege ram, which is nice. I guess thinking about your strategy, BP, you really like your, was it pikeman siege push with the siege ram? So I guess they're pretty good for that. Especially if you pick up Makai, your spearmen are no longer taking bonus skirm damage. That probably helps out a lot. If this becomes a trash war, I can see them doing very well, because skirms are your counter to spearmen. But not anymore if you've got Makai. So your spearmen would be really strong in a late post-imperial trash war situation.
And they'll destroy cavalry if you get Cryptia.
Right, so it's like, so you already, they attack faster, so your spearmen beat their spearmen. They don't take bonus damage from skirms anymore, and then they destroy the scouts, so you just win. Right? That's very strong in a post-imperial late-game situation. That seems also maybe that's stronger to me than Hippeus. I guess if you're trying to win the game, more my style, right? You're trying to play the game and win it early. I'm going into Hippeus already. This is a power unit, and I want him to move faster. Skeuphoroi might be a better choice there, but and you don't have an anti-infantry unique unit, or I'm not worried about your skirms beating up my spears. Then I guess I pick Skeuphoroi then. But otherwise, Makai seems the better choice. In the Imperial Age, Cryptia, more bonus damage. Now, infantry do bonus damage. Well, okay, spearmen do bonus damage to cav. What do swordsmen do bonus damage against? Buildings, I guess?
Yep.
So they melt buildings faster.
The Horus Warrior for the Egyptians is the Eagle Warrior. I don't know if that bonus damage still applies or not, but if you're going against Egyptians, I guess you can destroy.
Yeah, okay, so Cryptia is really nice. And that's the only choice if it's a land battle. If it's a water war, Peloponnesian League is your obvious choice. Polyremes +4 attack, which is nice. Kind of giving it some edge over the Athenians and that ancient rivalry. If you're playing a water battle. And if it's in the final age, +1 melee armor. Now I'm just curious real quick. The Athenians, they fire faster. I bet the Athenians still win over the Spartans, as well they should historically in a water war.
It's a good question. I don't know how much the ship armor really helps. I don't know how that ship armor works really.
Yeah. So they seem okay on water. I mean, better than nothing.
Yep.
But probably not the top of the list in a water war. And then on land, here's my thing. It seems like they've got one strat: infantry. Like their cavalry are okay. I guess they're okay, but they don't have any bonuses to cav. All of their bonuses are all about their barracks. So if you're going up against the Spartans, you know what's coming. I like infantry play. I think infantry aren't played enough. I think I've mentioned that at least once already in this video. But at the same time, when this is the only thing you've got going for you, for me, I get antsy. I want to build a lot of archers against a Spartans player. And unlike the Huscarl, I don't know that the Hippeis, because they're so slow, even after Scuferoi, it doesn't seem like the Hippeis are really an anti-archer option. Like you're then forced into skirms, and yeah, you got the extra pierce armor as skirms, but I don't know that that's enough just to stop. I don't know.
After Scuferoi, they're still slower than a swordsman.
Yeah,
0.92
so
speed.
they're still slower, and I guess you're relying on skirms, but then I don't know.
I guess that's the same actually, but still slow. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like you really have a good anti-archer option other than the skirmishers, the +1 pierce armor, which is okay. But then if you're building skirms, you're slowing down your eco, and then I just play against that, and it seems like you're ceding over momentum to your opponent if you play to the Spartans' strength. Is that analysis off, you think?
No, I completely agree. I would also like to see more infantry. Conqueror said they're still trying to work on it. They want to see more infantry, like this time period.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it over AoE2's time period. Like, let's try to get more infantry. Legionaries are doing that very well. All these infantry unique units, but the Spartans are still lacking. Like, why do they miss the last armor? Why do they miss forced march? Like, that's also keeping the Hippeis from being faster.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no eco. I think. I guess you haven't put your opinion out there, but I think this is our first D tier.
D tier, ooh,
yeah, hot take. But we've played them a good bit now. Like they can be strong, obviously. I mean, Halb Siege Ram's no joke.
Yeah.
But they in a 1v1, I think they could be outmaneuvered just about by anybody.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is, we got to put something in there.
Yep.
Let's go. Spartans D tier. They do need something. I'm surprised that we don't see the Hippeis as maybe like more like a Gulam, like an anti-archer infantry or something that would do a little bit more of a more effective job at actually countering the archers. That lets your force kind of do what they need to do.
I guess I forget about the extra melee armor. So their infantry is going to get 2 extra melee armor, including the Hippeis, but that doesn't make up for missing 2 pierce armor in Imperial Age.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're already better than other infantry. They're gonna beat other infantry. So what is that melee armor doing for them?
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, and that might even be a mark against them, is that it's kind of they're polarizing. They're so good in melee, and then like just really fall apart against range that they need something to kind of maybe smooth that out a little. Okay. But that's our list. That's my list anyway, right here. And I'm gonna have in the description below, I will have a link to BP's list as well, so you can compare our separate tier lists, and you can leave a comment below with your own thoughts. Do we rank any too highly, too lowly? Let me know what you think in the comments below. BP, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. Are there any final thoughts that you have you want to share with the audience?
No, I'd say anybody who is thinking that this mod seems pretty interesting, these civs seem cool, definitely try it out. The Kaiser has a great tutorial that I've been sending to everybody whether they want to play it or not. I'm just like, check out the tutorial. It's really easy to download. It's unfortunate it's not in the game just because of how big the file is. Right. It's not hard to download though, and I'd say it's well worth it. I've enjoyed this mod over the base game for quite a while now.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a beautiful mod, and it's so impressive to watch these guys who, you're not making money off of it, and these just fans of the game and the genre coming together to create something really beautiful, and I think maybe giving us some insight into what the future of AoE2 could be. BPDrej, thanks so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. Again, guys, I'm going to have links to, his YouTube channel, his Twitch channel in the description below. Just definitely give him a like, follow his stuff. He's really cool. And, again, if you liked these tier lists, I love putting out tier lists. They take a while to put together, but they're a lot of fun. So if you like, please like the video, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. Tell me how you're enjoying Roma ad Bellum, Rome at War. But with that, that's all I've got for you. Thanks, guys. This is the Iron Kaiser, along with BPDrej, signing off. Have a great one, guys.